Welcome to the Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap the Who's Number One Championship event put on by Flow Grappling that took place this weekend, all weekend. We're also going to recap Grapple In the Temple and Fight to Win 185. I don't think we have any previews this week as well. We may run through those a bit here. Yeah. But we had a giant week. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, the co-host.
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We just got through about an hour and a half pre-show. We were figuring out how to cover this event. Before we get into, 55 matches of Who's Number One, we're going to talk about probably most of them. Talk about a little bit of news before we jump into that. I think I have one piece of news, and it is Buchecha fought MMA. Looked good.
He did.
He fought Anderson Silva, not that Anderson Silva, the kickboxing Anderson Silva in 1FC. Takes his ass down. Hits a nice north-south choke, reminiscent of Jeff Monson.
Some of those knees were ridiculous.
He kneed to the head. And
and they were like high knees, too. I mean, he was literally kicking
It was like jumping knees from the north-south position. I was like, oh, right, this is like Asia. This is 1FC where you can do that. And it's an astonishing tool. It's great to see Buchecha look good.
And then north-south choke.
And he gets a nice north-south choke. Sorry, I'm all hyped up on energy drinks and stuff. It has been a huge weekend. I think that does it for news. Any other thing you got for news?
No.
Let's move in immediately to what we're here to do. Recap the Who's Number One Championship. So typically, when we have events that have multiple days of events, like ADCC, we will do a day one show and a day two show. Who's Number One ended on, midnight
or something? It was
something?
a little before that, because I think the main event for the UFC was 12:30.
Yeah, that walkout was 12:30. We watched that. So we had some people over at the house. We watched I had brought two TVs upstairs.
Yeah.
We watched Flow Grappling, Who's Number One on the top TV, and on the bottom TV we had the pay-per-view for the UFC.
Yeah.
That was also a ton of fun. I love doing stuff like that.
So it was definitely late.
It was 10, 11 o'clock at night, and so we didn't get a chance to record the day one show because we would have finished at 3 a.m., and then we would have had to start watching Flow Grappling again at 11 a.m., and I'm just too old to do that anymore. So we're going to recap all the stuff on today's show. If we get some shit wrong, it's because we watched probably 30 hours of combat sports between Fight to Win, Grapple in the Temple, Who's Number One, and the UFC in the last 72 hours.
Yeah.
That's all I have done. I'm still very tired, which is why I'm hopped up on an energy drink. But I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start? What do you want to do with it?
Aren't we doing men's heavyweight first?
Let's do men's heavyweight first because it has I think some of the biggest upsets of the tournament are at men's heavyweight, and starts off fun. So again, we're gonna gloss through some of the matches pretty quickly just because we have 55 matches to go through. But there are some outstanding highlights and some fun stuff to talk about. So if you want to talk about it more, hit us up on Instagram or follow us on the Grappling Rewind Instagram and do it there. Whew, I'm all hyped up.
Yeah.
First match, we had Kaynan Duarte defeating Kyle Baim. Kaynan looks good.
Yeah.
Nice top position, especially towards the end. He gets past the guard. Saw a little bit of leg locks versus Baim, which I was a little concerned about because I think if Baim had any pathway to victory, it would have been breaking Kaynan's leg off.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of shades of things to come later, but it was nice to see Duarte engage with a dangerous leg locker in the legs and then use that to pass into the guard into the mount.
Yeah.
Takes a pretty clean decision over Baim. Next round, we had Mason Fowler defeating... Sorry, we didn't have... We had
Mason Fowler defeating Bodoni.
So this will start off our discussion of confusing brackets and dropouts and consolation brackets getting replacements.
Yeah.
This is the first match that has that happen. So Mason Fowler defeats Bodoni via a pretty clean decision. His wrestling looked good. Top position work looked good the entire time. But in the process, gets his eye gouged out a bit.
Yeah.
And they turn him into 2017 Orlando Sanchez in ADCC.
Yeah, they wrapped his entire head.
Yeah, huge. It was.
And then he threw it off at one point towards the end and you could look at his eye and tell him that his eye was pretty poked. He was not very happy with that.
Talk into the mic.
I'm trying to talk
move
into
your
the
face
mic.
around.
I know. I'm still learning this whole mic talking thing.
You're getting there.
Okay.
So Bodoni moves on because Fowler is unable to move on.
Yeah.
We had Orlando Sanchez getting triangled by Tex Johnson after powerbombing him in 37 seconds. Tex locks up a really nice triangle, or kind of not even a full triangle, a TP triangle.
Yeah.
And then Orlando Sanchez goes, bro, I've only competed in ADCC for the last 6 or 5 years or whatever, and That's it.
I'm just gonna slam you.
I'm gonna slam out of subs because I can do that. And then who's number one goes, you can't do that here because these are not puzzle mats, but like thin Dahmer mats on a concrete floor, so you can't do that. And then Tex cuts the angle as he comes down, and Orlando taps as he gets DQ'd.
Which is one of the big problems of trying to slam out of a triangle to begin with. Like if you're in a triangle and they try to slam you out of a triangle, you just tighten up the triangle.
Or you Ricardo Arona and Rampage Jackson, and everyone wants to be that guy.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple actually slam KOs in triangles. It's not uncommon, but in events you're not allowed to have it, especially events on flat mats like this. You're not allowed to do it. So Tex Johnson it's listed as a DQ, but Orlando was tapping.
Yeah,
and people said that he was tapping because the ref was stopping it, because the ref was yelling at him, and like, I don't know.
There was probably some confusion going on.
Yeah, but he taps on Tex's chest.
I don't think Orlando had any idea that he shouldn't slam. I think he was.
Neither would surprise me with Sanchez. He's gotten some heat this weekend over some comments and some other stuff he said that I've not looked into. I just know that he's gotten some heat. So
I know he has in the past.
Yeah, he's got a bit of heat recently for a number of things he's done. But Tex Johnson moves on. Next match we have Haisam Rida versus Tim Spriggs.
Yeah.
And Tim Spriggs showing off his heel hook game.
Yeah.
This match was, I'm going to say, relatively inactive. Like there was some discussion about some stalling, and there was like a lot of people upset with the beginning of this match. And then Tim Spriggs in the last 45, 55 seconds of the match goes,
heel hook.
I'm going to win. And gets a really quick heel hook on Haisam, which we've seen Haisam Rida have problems with that in his game before, like adept leg lockers, both in Quintet, his fight with Lachlan Giles in that Chinese MMA promotion. Yeah. Like, he is a guy that's been susceptible to heel hooks, specifically like leg locks and heel hooks before. Tim Spriggs, capitalizes on that and gets a nice quick.
Tim Spriggs hasn't been competing very often. I think they had made a comment that Tim Spriggs has been taking a while. That he hasn't competed in a few years. And that was like the return of Tim Spriggs.
We've seen him. I forget when the last time we've seen him. I didn't expect a follow-up question.
Yeah. No, I remember them saying it, and then I thought back, and we might have saw him on a Fight to Win card a couple years ago.
We saw him. I could pull up his record right now. But let's just wildly speculate. Yeah. We saw him. He defended his title, or he got his title taken in the Maryland card. A couple of years ago by Santos, right? Herbert Santos took it. At UMBC in Maryland.
Yeah, I was there.
Yep, that was a very odd main event.
Yeah, it was the whole.
Was that Gutenberg? That was Gutenberg.
Yeah.
It was Gutenberg versus Tim Spriggs.
Yeah.
And we saw him after that a couple of times, but we saw him at ADCC, and we haven't seen him a ton since then. But, came out in spades. Next division, or next semifinals, we had Kaynan Duarte take another really clean decision over Bodoni. Again, because Fowler was unable to continue, so Bodoni takes that spot and moves on to that match.
And Duarte just took control from the top for most of the match, if not all the match. Yeah,
he was very much in the driver's seat. Yeah. Very clean decision. Tim Spriggs versus Tex Johnson. Tim Spriggs takes another clean decision. Again, very similar kind of nature and nexus.
Yeah.
Clean top position of work, throwing up some sub offense. Gets by, I think, once or twice. Yeah. He passes and kind of settles into top position.
And Tex just gets back, but Tex can never really get under him well enough to actually get a leg.
Yeah, he does a good job. Like, he starts attacking on some stuff a little bit, but you see Spriggs like very measured in his defense. He never overcommits. He never really gets knocked over by Johnson, and so Johnson's always kind of playing that underhooking game on the legs and trying to enter into the heel hooks, but Spriggs is aware of like where
and
Tex
just kind
is
of
going
pushing
with
him
that.
out every single time.
And then in the finals match for this bracket, do you want to go in the consolation bracket first, or want to go to the finals?
We can go to finals. Why not?
Finals match, we had the biggest upset of the tournament by far.
I don't know. Gabby Garcia get taken out in that one.
Second biggest upset of the tournament. But see, that I'm less hesitant. I'm hesitant to call that the biggest upset because we talked about that last week as a potential outcome.
Yeah.
That Garcia, like, people had figured out her game a little bit and could capitalize on things. And so, like,
But Levy was a dark horse. I mean, she wasn't ranked at all. And to come in and to take her out.
But Levy's, like, we've seen... Let's talk about that division.
I mean, we know that, but...
So let's talk about the division next.
Okay.
So we're men's heavyweight still, because that's I'm super excited to talk about that. I don't want to cloud that by talking about men's heavyweight and female heavyweight at the same time. We had Duarte get subbed via heel hook by Tim Spriggs.
The same heel hook.
The same heel hook as the Haisam Rida one he had hit earlier. I did not see this coming.
I didn't expect it at all.
3 minutes, I think we were watching this together, and I think I said 4 or 5 minutes before this happened, I went, look, the only way that Spriggs beats him is via like an outside heel hook, like the one that he got hit with either by Lachlan, but specifically by the one he got hit with by Cyborg at BJJ Bet. I was like, that's probably the only pathway that Tim has to victory here.
Definitely.
Because I think Duarte is better than most of the other spots there.
Yeah.
And Tim, a couple minutes later, like, throws that heel hook.
Yeah.
And I love how he throws this, because Tim doesn't throw his legs all the way over and cross-side in traditional, like, triangle Tenkaku position with his legs. He throws it same side with his legs over top on top of the hip, not through and laced under.
Yeah.
And then he just finishes so quickly that the bite is good enough.
Yeah, that you can't really spin around.
No.
You can't get out of it.
And he's
normally
low.
you would just pass the reap and then come up behind the back. But he does it so fast they can't really turn.
And he's also so tight there. You see that. I watched it. I was like, he just kind of gets him with like a panic tap.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He's very controlled, and he's high up on that knee, and he's tight. Like, it's
it might be a panic
good
tap.
heel
It's a
hook.
panic tap because you realize your whole leg is about to fall off.
But I mean, it's the submission mechanics there are still
Yeah.
really, really good, because Spriggs doesn't need the leg all the way through. And so it's like, he actually has to do one less step here, because he can just latch onto the leg and go for the heel. You don't necessarily need, especially if you're dropping into that the way Spriggs is dropping into it, you don't need the leg all the way through. And it kind of is more reminiscent of like an older heel hook style, like almost like a catch wrestling heel hook style. And it was cool to see in a finals match versus the clear favorite in Duarte, to have him like pull that out.
Because we all thought Duarte was going to win.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the rankings, you look at all the stats, you look at all the betting lines, like Duarte was the clear favorite here. And like I think Tim was like 6th seed.
Yeah.
And then to have him continuously put on a performance like this and then sub Duarte in the finals, really just speaks to the improvement that Spriggs has made.
Tim Spriggs also wanted to show off his abs every single time he won.
He did want to show off his abs.
There's
There's something that happened a couple years ago with that. I can't for the life of me remember.
I don't know, but every single match he pulled up his shirt.
He did the Mushmaster thing, and it was, again, Spriggs is...
And then he did the most relaxed interview, because he just sat down, put his legs up, and was just like hanging out.
Like, usually I hate that shit where it's like, show it, but it's like Spriggs earned that. Coming in as like a guy in like not the top 4 seeds.
Oh no.
And then coming in and then winning and beating
and
Duarte
winning by
in such impressive fashion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It puts his
if he would have won a decision, I mean it would have still been a good win, but the fact that he subbed him made it.
He subbed him and subbed him well
in a short period of time.
Was like, I mean, the finals.
It was a 30-minute
finals
match.
were 30 minutes. He subs him. Oh yeah, subs him like 7. He subs him only like 7 minutes.
7 minutes in, 7:20.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fast.
Again, I'm hot on Tim Spriggs again. I can't wait to see what he does in the future. I hope that we continue to see this I hope we see him push more action, because I think he is capable of it.
Yeah.
The Haisam Rida match gives me a little more concern, because that was a much slower paced match that I don't think.
That was his first match, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was his first. It doesn't.
So I mean, it takes a little bit of time to kind of.
Yeah, but we've seen that from Spriggs before, and I would love to see matches where he opens up more, because even like the old school Kyle Baim match at Subversive, like when Spriggs opens up and shows what a monster he can be, like. Dude's next level. It's just we get it between these performances where like he's almost gun shy to perform at that level. So I hope this gives him the confidence to go, no, I can be at this level consistently, and I can be the guy people are gunning for and show off like how good I am, because Spriggs has a cool story, and to take out the number 1 guy in the division in definitive fashion like this after such a performance throughout the event is cool.
Yeah.
So let's do the men's. You keep messing me up. Call it consolidation bracket.
Consolation bracket.
The consolation bracket.
Consolation bracket.
Who's number 1?
Loser
Got their money out of the athletes.
Yeah.
And I didn't like this at first.
A lot of them backed out.
Yeah, after their first loss, a lot of them backed out or injuries. And again, it's a high level tournament, so people do get injured, and also people are super trained for this event. So you're fighting people at the top of their game where their propensity for injury is much higher. Like people for $30,000, which is $30,000 on the line, plus 1,000 for subs, plus like, was it 10,000 to the second place, 7,500 for the third place winner,
and 30,000 for first place.
There's a lot of money on the line. Guys are gonna let stuff go and get popped a little bit before
I so would let myself be put out. I mean, you almost put me out for free yesterday.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the fact that I'm getting out
like,
for $30,000, I would go out for
is
$30,000.
a good portion of my yearly salary. Like it's like I'm $30,000. I maybe go sleep a little bit. Like hell yeah, done. So let's
even let my ankle pop.
I will definitely $30,000. You can break my leg probably for $30,000. And maybe not.
I don't know about that.
It's a discussion. For 30 grand, breaking it's a discussion.
Your insurance isn't going to cover it though.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's during a professional. You can't if you're competing in a professional manner. You can't. Your health insurance doesn't cover it. That's why you have to stay amateur. You can't go pro.
Really?
Yeah, when you go pro, your health insurance no longer picks up.
No
injuries.
shit.
Yes, that's why you can never say you win money for matches. You have to be amateur. Only amateur is your health insurance. Your health insurance will deny it if you do a pro event.
Oh, that's fucking nice. I never knew that.
Yeah. UFC and some of the larger things, I think, have their own medical staff. So
a
then
lot of big,
most
promotions for MMA.
So then if you injure yourself, like they cover it. But like health insurance job wise, if they hear it's a professional anything, they deny it.
Huh. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that like most organizations for MMA.
They'll fight you. I mean, they'll fight you even if you tell them.
Yeah.
Because I've had my arm popped a few times and went in for like MRIs and they're like denying my claims. And I'm like, dude, I'm not getting paid for this shit.
Right.
Pay my claim. Anyway.
Huh. The more you know.
Yeah.
So we had Kyle Baim and Mason Fowler both forfeit that side of the bracket for the consolation bracket. We have Kyle Baim and Tex Johnson was the next match because Kyle moved on even though he was out versus Tex. Tex moves into the third place match versus Haisam Rida. For Haisam Rida to get there, he had to fight Orlando Sanchez, and fight him he did.
Yeah.
Gets the back in like a little under 6 minutes and subs Sanchez.
Yeah.
Which for me was super like surprising because again, Rida's a guy that we've seen open up, but to have him really use the snap downs in the way that he used the snap downs and then get to his back and Sanchez again with that knowledge of the ADCC rule set, works and plays to the edges to get guys to chase him. Ref does a good job on the reset. Haisam locks in the rest of the back control and then finishes the sub, finishes rear naked choke. And that was, for me, that's a huge feather in Haisam's cap.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Because I would have been hesitant to pick Rida in that match because Sanchez weighed in at like, I think just shy of 300 pounds or just north of 300 pounds. Yeah. And Rida, again, is 6'5", big, long, lanky, newer black belt. But like Orlando's former absolute champion, ADCC, like
he's also
no
like
joke.
Meatball sort of body.
Yeah, he has a really difficult body. And guys notoriously have huge amounts of difficulty with Orlando just by like size and the way he grapples too. Like he has a style about him that's difficult. And Haisam, you know, kind of takes a page out of Nicky Rod's book in ADCC and uses his front heavy stance to get him snapped down and to get behind him because Haisam is so much taller. So it was a really interesting kind of parallel, something we've seen trouble Sanchez twice here, and Haisam's actually able to get to the back and get the sub here. Next match for Rida, we had Haisam Rida versus Bodoni. Haisam takes a somewhat close decision there over Bodoni, and then moves into the finals. Moves into the third place match versus Tex Johnson, and then Tex Johnson's forfeited out of that side of the bracket, so Rida takes a clean sweep. It was a little weird that they didn't reorganize that bracket to have more matches for Haisam.
Yeah.
And they just basically pushed him through all the way to the consolation third.
Yeah.
But
that's interesting.
In hindsight, who else would you bracket him with? Like realistically, that's how the bracket would go anyway.
Yeah.
So everyone had to fight each other anyway. So it's, again, this is my misunderstanding probably of how consolation brackets are seeded, just because I don't see a whole lot of 8-man consolation brackets that have 2 rounds in them and a third. So it's just, I'm confused with it because I don't recall another event we've ever seen that does this. And so it's just my failings in understanding bracketing, which if anyone has ever listened to the show before knows that that's a really constant
I'm sure they have
thing.
some sort of computer program that they freaking put everything in.
But in hindsight, though, you would make Haisam fight the 2 rounds because, like, you can't give a Bodoni another bye. You can't give Orlando Sanchez another bye. Like, they've already done it. So you have one side of the bracket functionally versus 2. You just don't have the final match.
Yeah.
So realistically, the Bodoni match should have been the finals match for the third place bracket.
True.
So that's the consolation bracket. Again, I'm actually kind of although the event was really long, the event was just shy of 10 hours of matches. It was long, but I did appreciate seeing athletes compete more than once.
True.
So it was like a guy that I wanted to see gets taken out. I still have an opportunity to see him potentially in 2 or 3 more matches.
If they actually stayed around.
Yeah, like Haisam, he got knocked out in the first round by Spriggs and then takes third place.
And then he came back,
which kind of makes sense, though, because it's like, well, he got beat by the champion. Yeah. And then that guy realistically would have gotten like 7th place or something like that. But he had an opportunity to showcase what he could do, fight back in and show, I'm a third place guy. It is kind of cool. And
it's a good dynamic.
I do appreciate how they run that. It gives you, it gives you full seating for the event. And I like that. I would like to see more events do that because it also, you bring in these high-level athletes. Oh, he has one match and he's out. Like, I kind of would like to see that guy, like, what would he look like versus other athletes in the bracket, especially if there's, there's potentially the ability to win another $7,500. Like, that's a big payday for these guys.
That is, definitely.
That was men's heavyweight. Do you want to move on to women's heavyweight?
Sure.
Women's heavyweight bracket championship. Let's start out with I think you're right, the biggest upset of the tournament. And you told me, I think was it you who was like, she could do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure. Like, again, I've been a huge fan of Levy, and we talked about her last week. Has good wins over a whole host. She was one of the higher ranked women in this. Probably she was top 4.
Yeah.
She has very good names. The trials win always stands out to me at ADCC.
But she wasn't ranked in this.
No, she wouldn't have ranked, but that was
but that's just because she hasn't done a lot of she has never done a Who's Number One event. She did the submersive. Right?
Subversive. Yep, she's done subversive, and I think she lost or won. Those
she went
two
against
events.
Rafaela Gettys and then won.
She beat Gettys.
Yeah,
and that was always like a big win.
She might have beat Gettys twice. She beat somebody twice.
She beat Gundrum twice.
Oh, okay.
She beat Gundrum with that armbar.
Oh, okay.
At trials, and then at a previous event as well. It's a fall off armbar that she does from standing. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gettys has. I mean, not Gettys. Amanda Levy has a bunch of really good wins, and she beats Gabby Garcia in the first round.
She takes her back quite a few times.
Like twice?
2 or 3 times.
In a really clean, like, the match finishes, and you're like, oh, this is clearly Amanda Levy's match.
Oh, yeah. She controlled the pace. She kind of made Gabby play into her game.
And that was the thing that kind of struck me most in this match was that Levy put...
And she didn't push her around either.
No, she put Garcia on the back foot immediately in the match, and then just kind of kept the pace there. Yeah, and it's interesting because the way that we've seen people beat Garcia, mostly Natalia DeJesus beat Garcia, is a really similar way. Like, you put Garcia on the back feet, and you keep fighting into these positions, and you force Gabby to defend. Yeah. It's a pathway to victory.
But in her last, I'm trying to think, the last time she was on. I don't think it might have been Who's Number One. She was trying footlocks too, which I expected to see Gabby try something, but Gabby didn't even try any. There was no submissions on Gabby's side at all. The entire.
I mean
it's a really crappy leg lock that she tries. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not trying.
That wasn't the best.
But it's not the best. But she didn't try anything.
No, she didn't have a huge opportunity to. I mean, really,
well,
Levy.
She did once or twice. She had Levy down. Yeah. She had her in like side control, or she had her in maybe a half guard, and she had her flattened out pretty bad, but then she would get back up.
Yeah. Levy was just sort of tenacious with her ability to kind of continue to not just get settled on, because as soon as Garcia like really settles into you, people have historically had a super difficult time getting away from her. Yeah. But Levy was able to deal with that. And again, the back take here, for me, that's the one piece that stands out most prominently in my mind for this match was that back take, like snap down, kind of turns the corner, gets Garcia's back, and then has one of the deepest rear naked chokes I've ever seen someone in a professional jiu-jitsu
event
escape.
She had it right across her face for a while too, which I was like, oh, this is gonna.
I didn't think she would get it on the face, but as soon as she popped under the neck, you saw just like it was full forearm under the neck, and Garcia, to her credit, like looks like she's going out. Yeah. And is able to fight through, get the hands under, fight it off, and escape. But like that was the cementing moment. It was like, that is the closest rear naked choke I've ever seen or have seen in recent history for jiu-jitsu, and then watched someone get out. Yeah. And you have
she also has a huge neck.
Huge neck, big hands, very strong lady.
Lots of muscle there.
Which was a point of contention for Levy, and she brought it up in the press conference.
About her not having to weigh in.
Yeah, Gabby didn't have to weigh in.
Everybody else had to weigh in.
I don't know. Women's heavyweight, it kind of like...
Yeah, but you would think... If everybody else has to do it, you should be able to do it.
I agree. I just think it's weird to weigh in at heavyweight for jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Because it's like, there's no...
I've never seen her weigh in for anything. Maybe IBJJF.
I've seen her weigh in for IBJJF. I've seen her weigh in for...
Fight to Win, she doesn't weigh in. I've never seen her weigh in for Fight to Win.
I've never been at a Fight to Win that she has been on.
Because I've tried to figure out how much she weighs.
I think she's about curiosity. She's about 235.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I think for her Horizon fight, she weighed at 235. Yeah. I think that's about what she walks around at when she's like cut. Gabby was cut for the Levy and Gabby were like cut for this event, and some of the best shape I've seen either of them in a while.
Well, Levy just fought like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's even crazier too. Levy has a submission win in her pro debut at MMA in PFL at 55, 155.
She also got knocked on her ass.
She almost got knocked out.
Yeah, she got knocked on her ass.
Yeah, she got dropped hard. Wrestles up in that match. So so it's been a big month for Levy. Yeah. I think that was in September.
It was recently.
Yeah, it was really recently.
It was recently.
So Levy's having a good month. Props to her. Yeah. Love seeing her. Love watching her matches. Again, I'm curious to see if she makes another trials run. I think she would be a front runner at any women's heavyweight division at this point, with the win over Gettys, with the win over Garcia. Like, you beat Garcia, that puts you, arguably in the number 3 spot.
Have beat Garcia. So 2.
Only DeJesus has ever done it. Giancarlo.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, Garcia has very few losses.
Yeah, and then what's her name?
Dern.
Yeah,
but back in but
that was Guy.
That was also 7 years ago.
That was
a really long time ago.
Was that when Dern spoke in which accent? Was she?
That was English. That was English Dern.
That was the English Dern.
That was English Dern then. Back then. So,
if you don't know what we're talking about, look up the accent.
Look up code switching.
Look up the accent of.
The evolution of,
it's the evolution of
Mackenzie Dern, I think is what it's called. And it's a video that shows her over the years speaking. And then she needs a translator at one point. It's a whole thing.
One of her last MMA fights, UFC fights, she had a translator with her that was translating everything.
Yeah. Moving on. We had Rafael Gettys defeat Elizabeth Clay via decision. Anything to add on that match?
Gettys was throwing leg kicks that were freaking crazy. Dude,
she was breaking grips in a very aggressive fashion.
They look like Muay Thai kicks
with a front snap kick to the leg, very much what we saw Roundtree. Break the guy's knee with a couple weeks ago in the UFC. They were straight up leg kick again. They didn't get called. But
they didn't get called.
We saw
she did it on a few matches too. She wasn't. Some of the men did
like an outside leg kick.
Yeah. Some of the men did it too, but
we saw it also in the Yuri Simões match on Fight to Win this weekend. Yuri Simões and Felipe Andrew were leg kicking each other. I think that is a new thing.
I think some of it is also trying to not sweep, but foot sweep.
The outside foot sweep.
And you kind of have to kick to foot sweep.
Oh yeah.
But it just looks.
But a lot of it they're high. Like, a lot of people are cupping now at the shin as opposed to at the ankle which is where historically in judo you've done it from.
Yeah.
A lot of them are literally low kicks.
Yeah.
That are not foot sweeps. But
I mean,
that outside sweep has really come into prominence.
She's amazing. She does a really good job. Outside of just kicking the shit out of her opponents, but hey. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gettys looks good, dominant, takes that decision. We have Anna Carolina versus Amanda Lowen. How did she finish this one, actually? Do you remember?
I thought that was like a rear naked choke. Was it?
Was it the Kimura? Let me try.
No, the Kimura was her second match. Her second loss was Kimura.
Yeah, it was a Katakatame. Oh. It was like that Kimura, from the scarf hold thing.
Oh, I was completely wrong.
Yep. Baby Vieira looks utterly dominant the entire match. Takes top position from the beginning, works from it, and then finishes. I think in what was the match just under 10 minutes, 9:14 into the match. Very, very dominant. She puts Lowen to sleep.
Yeah, this is the one where you should have known she was asleep.
Yeah, I was a little upset about this. I watched and I tend to scream at my TV a lot when I watch things because I get into what we're watching.
Yeah, sometimes
her legs did a little shake thing.
Yeah.
And then baby kind of is almost finishing from mount, kind of switches off, and then I watch Lowen's legs kind of go shake. I'm like, oh, she's asleep.
Yeah.
And then baby hips into it again. The ref's like, is she asleep? And lifts her up a little bit and I'm not sure. And then baby continues to choke, and then the ref goes, oh, she's asleep.
Yeah.
And then baby doesn't realize and is choking over more, and then Lowen went to sleep. But yeah,
but as a competitor, you're supposed to hold on to your chokes until they tell you to let go.
No one did anything wrong here, except the ref was a little
slow and
give the ref a little. Ref was phenomenal for almost all the matches.
Oh, the resets were amazing. Yeah, there was no way I would have been able to reset.
That was one of 3 things, and again in 10 hours of matches that I was that was a little, that was a minor little error that you made, not realizing a competitor was asleep. But that being said,
it's also a lot of money on the line. So,
it's a lot of money on the line. I'd much rather you not call something early.
Yeah.
And it's it sucks to see, give the ref a little bit of shit, but I would be very upset if she wasn't asleep and it got called. So it's one of those in jiu-jitsu, occasionally you go to sleep at a pro level. And
Yeah.
it happens. Next match, we had Kendall Riesling defeat. I cannot say her name correctly.
Aaron Harp.
No, Kendall's.
Oh.
Kendall's last name.
Kendall Roosing.
Roosing. I've called her Riesling for like 3
Like
years.
the wine.
Like the wine.
Okay.
One more time.
Roosing.
Roosing. Kendall Roosing defeats Aaron Harp via decision. Kendall looks good.
Yeah, Kendall, the whole tournament, really, Kendall looked pretty decent.
I mean, I think she was much more aggressive in her stand-up this tournament.
Oh, yeah, she
than we've
was.
seen her. We saw her, she almost looks reminiscent like she did in, was it her 2017 trials one or her 2015 trials? Like one of her ADCC trials runs where she really leaned into that, like, just like an outside Haragoshi and like she really leaned more into her wrestling and her.
But she transitions her I almost said Yoda. She translates her wrestling into judo really
she has
well.
a big judo background.
But I mean, her throws, she transitions them from a more wrestling base.
Yeah. She does really well in the ties.
Yeah.
And but we've seen her, especially in the gi recently on Fight to Win, much more hesitant with that.
Yeah.
And I think this tournament, again, looked in great shape.
She opened up
more,
Yeah.
and we saw her like really get aggressive with like the body locks and the throws. And when she was on top, she was much more active with her hips. Like she's kind of been low with her hips recently, and we saw her really making efforts to pass and like plant people into the ground on the top position.
This was also a rule set where if they were handing out penalties left and right for people.
Yeah.
If they weren't doing something that, or trying to move or trying to sub.
And the ref was really vocal. The ref wasn't mic'd up day one, but he was mic'd up very audibly for day two. And I appreciated, one of the things I really did appreciate about this event is Flow is making this event to be a spectator-friendly event.
Yeah.
And so in their rule sets and in their refereeing, they have it as a criteria like, look, we are looking to make the matches exciting and engaging. Like, yeah, we care about your position. We want you to like do good jiu-jitsu, but we need you to be doing stuff and progressing your position, whether that's on bottom or on top.
Yeah.
And even some people that were just defending super hard. Like there was a match, I think it was one of the Lowen matches for the next bracket.
Yeah.
She was on bottom and she was defending super, super hard and wasn't putting up any offense.
Yeah.
The ref was like, look, penalty, you're not doing enough on the bottom to get out of this. You're just defending. You need to be active. And I went, it's really interesting to penalize a bottom player for defensiveness.
Yeah.
But I thought it made the matches. It made it viewer friendly. Like there was very few matches this entire tournament, based on just the level of everyone there. Like you had a phenomenal assortment of grapplers there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But they were going for the finish. They were going for position. They were actively working towards something most of the time, either as the bottom player or as the top player.
Yeah.
And like I appreciate that in the rule set where it's like,
especially when you have a 15 to 30 minute match.
15-minute matches were
15-minute matches are a little long.
They were a little long
30-minute
for me.
matches are crazy long.
Again, I was a little upset about it, but for $30,000, like
that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money in line, and I would much rather those not go to decision if they can.
Yeah.
I just think maybe we'll talk about in the finals a little more, but I would love to see a little more aggressiveness with the penalty calling and the forcing of the action, understanding that after 2 days of grappling, I don't know how much gas some of these guys would have, but 30 minutes is a long match, so I see both arguments for that. I wasn't too upset about the 30-minute matches. I wish that the event overall would run a little quicker. Yeah. Some of the walkouts would be a little quicker, and like they'd be a little quicker between divisions. There was like 10 minutes breaks between every division. Yeah. Like you take out that, the event runs 4 or 5 hours quicker. Yeah. Well, probably not 4 hours. Probably like easily 3 hours quicker. Yeah. But overall, it was a really good weekend of events.
Yeah, and gave everybody a little bit of a break here and there. Yeah. So you could do things.
So what match are we on now?
We are on the semifinals.
Semifinals for the women's heavyweight. We had Kendall Riesling defeating Ana Carolina Vieira via decision. Again, more of the same from Kendall. Just, good, dominant, top pressure position performance from her. And, just does what she needs to do in order to kind of prevent Gettys from opening up in her game hugely and taking the match away. Riesling really just, if you've seen a Riesling match, that's really what she did moving forward. Good positional, good top pressure, consistently working from the guard.
The only time I really haven't seen her do that, she went against Gabby Garcia, right? She was the chick that Gabby Garcia threw off the stage at Fight to Win.
Was that match?
she threw her off the stage, I think, like 2 or 3 times.
I could be.
I think that was the only time I've ever seen her really not.
Yeah, it was a weird takedown match where we never saw Riesling Kendall
open up.
Really open up.
She didn't really open up at all. And I kind of get why, but...
I get why as well. I mean, Kendall's probably one of the other
this time was,
larger women in the bracket and still was outsized by Garcia in that match by no insignificant margin.
Yeah.
Next match, we had Rafaela Gettys defeating Amanda Levy via decision. You have pieces on this match?
I mean, Amanda beat her before. So it's not like Rafaela didn't come in kind of knowing the game and knowing how to beat the game.
And we've talked about that for Rafaela. I think she's one of the best women in women's heavyweight for being able to change her game. We saw her.
She doesn't have a one track. Like she knows how to
win. How to set herself up and make the changes that she needs
or her
to.
coaching knows how to do it. One or the other. But I think that's part of a competitor and a coach kind of dynamic that they know they can.
That Atos team, I think, is some of the best game plan changers. I think it's in the sport, and we've seen that.
And they also know how to
time
prepare for everything too. Yeah. They have preparations that are crazy for most of the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Andre knows the rules well, and he knows how to prepare his competitors to go in and win in the rule set because he has. And that's one thing even Mo Jassam, the event runner for ADCC, has talked about, numerous times. They also
run their comp practices a little more like wrestling practices, in that they do live rounds and then drilling and then live rounds and then drilling, so that you're not doing 50 rounds in a row, because in a competition you're going to do a round and you're going to sit for 5 minutes and you're going to do another round, and you have to get your body used to doing that, which some people aren't as good at doing.
They have a very good preparation style, and that, again, we have multiple athletes winning this event.
3 of 5.
Yeah. In the finals here, we have Rafaela Gettys subbing Kendall. Where's that?
Well, we skipped. We missed that whole portion.
Let's go next.
Okay.
We're
going for it. Sorry.
Great. We're doing. Yeah. We spent forever trying to get results here, and again, it's a ton of matches.
Yeah.
Subbing her via guillotine.
No one gave us a bracket. Why don't everybody give us a bracket with information on it?
Yeah, I would love Flow to I do not like the Flow system of listing results, especially because they don't have, if you click.
They're not in order.
Well, they're not in order, and they don't show full results for divisions. So if you click on like men's heavyweight, or men's 185, it only shows you 6 matches. It doesn't show you like.
And then we found some that.
And then BJJ Heroes is the homie here and gives us an actual like results list, because both of us have brackets on our phone.
Yeah.
That we're scrolling through. We have, because the brackets don't have on Flow Grappling, don't have all the information. The BJJ Heroes breakdown has the actual like method of victory, and our notes have some other stuff too. But again, I don't trust my notes for 55 matches because. We had some drinks along the way. We were hanging out. We were watching Volkanovski. It was a big weekend of fights.
Talking about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Gettys locks in a really nice guillotine on Kendall after what was the setup for this actually?
It was I'm trying to think. It was a mounted guillotine. I mean, didn't she go from side control and just drop the arm? Kind of like almost like a guillotine.
Yeah, she modifies it.
A lot like a guillotine.
Yeah, very similar way.
I mean, she probably trains with him on a regular basis. So
that makes sense.
It wouldn't be surprising because he likes to drop the elbow through.
Yeah, it's a really nice like low elbow, and she really gets on the outside of the hip there to finish it.
And then she rolls up, and I love mounted guillotines.
Yeah,
they're one of my favorite things.
I was really surprised that she was able to get it how she got it, because it's not a guillotine this finish that I see women hit a whole lot.
Yeah.
But getting that off angle on the hip, she does so nicely. And is actually able to throw her hips under to turn Kendall on her back and then get it. It was cool. Like we know Gettys is just a beast on top, so it's cool to see her finish an arm in guillotine from the top.
Yeah.
Which is just a gangster way to think. Mounted guillotines are gangster. Arm in guillotines from the top are like. I don't recall the last time I've seen the arm in guillotine from the top.
I can't do arm in guillotines.
They're just
mine are just not. I always do just the head.
Yeah, me too.
And then try to like pop the head off, basically.
So let's move into the repechage. What do they call? How do we say that word?
Repechage.
It's the term for like the secondary bracket. Repechage bracket.
Loser bracket.
The loser bracket, consolation bracket.
Or is kind of like a wrestleback, but not really a wrestleback.
We had Gabby Garcia out of that bracket, Elizabeth Clay out of that bracket, both out with injury. We had Elizabeth Clay and
No, Elizabeth Clay was in the bracket because she went into third place.
yeah, sorry, Anna Carolina was out with injury.
Yeah.
That was the second match for Clay. The first match we had Erin Harp versus Amanda Lowen, and that was that like weird, weird Kimura that came on super quick.
Yeah.
And again, really
dominant performance from Erin Harp.
Yeah, just on the top for the entirety of the match.
Yeah.
Really, I think this is the match that Lowen actually got the warning from the bottom.
Yeah.
For like defending, and again it is somewhat, we've seen that from Lowen a ton because she competes in SUG. Like she's been the SUG champion for the heavyweight women for 6 months at least, and like she plays a very, very defensive game, and then in the overtime she showcases that she's very, very good at that overtime rule set. But who's number one, it is such a starkly different rule set. You saw her getting the penalty on the bottom and like playing very, very defensively, and didn't see her open up a ton.
True.
Kind of to her detriment here, and Lowen's able to take Harp's able to take a Kimura, Kimura off her there. We also had Harp beating Amanda Levy via decision, and again, Harp just looks good.
Yeah, she does.
We have seen more from her since her previous Who's Number One
in the last couple months.
Yeah, and really, she popped onto the scene. She took a win over someone that surprised me.
She was an MMA. She's an MMA fighter, right?
She took a win over Gettys, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
right?
I think it was Gettys, and went in the last Who's Number One, and it just like everyone went, who is Erin Harp? Like, why don't we know about her more? Because she's on that level, obviously. And then she takes a decision win over Levy. And then in the third place match versus Elizabeth Clay, goes the decision. Clay takes that. Again, Clay just played her game, more active from the bottom, better with the legs, spent some time on top, and takes third place. And any other kind of pieces for that?
Yeah, that's about it.
Again, I love that we have the consolation brackets, and the more I think about it, I'm just happy that we got to see some of these athletes compete twice.
Oh yeah, it's nice to see them against different people,
as opposed to just like, you're out
especially if
once.
you had a really rough first match.
Yeah, or you fight the champion first round. It's like, okay, cool. Well, you still look good. I want to see like what else you can do. Yeah. So we have that. What bracket and what division do you want to move on to next?
Men's 185.
Let's do men's 185. Let me open my bracket here for men's 185. This is another bracket that had just a shitload of like
changes,
upsets,
modifications. So then we had a couple that aren't reported correctly, and
what's reported wrong? That one.
The couch.
Couch and Thor. That's a consolation bracket match though.
Yeah.
So
still.
Yeah,
Thor should get his.
We'll talk about that in a second here. So the men's first round, we had Tyro Tolo defeating Johnny Tama via Darce choke.
That was the jump Darce choke, right?
Which one?
I know, right? That was like the big jump. Like
where Tyro Tolo's like, oh, it's a nice competitive match.
Yeah.
Rotolo looks really good. I'm like, I'm leaning Rotolo, and then Rotolo goes, he goes, remember that thing I used to do all the fucking time, which is jump for Darce chokes, and like, I catch people on like not on a high level. Yeah. He jumps a Darce choke on Johnny Tama from what? 3 feet away?
I don't know.
Like almost
something crazy.
Almost no contact.
Yeah.
Jumps it and he locks his hand through. And Darce is a choke I'm not so great at, so I've been working a ton on.
I have short arms, so it's
actually going to classes and like trying to learn how to Darce better because we see it enough. And actually the Rotolos are a big reason why I'm like, I want to understand this position better. Yeah. Gets his hand in and then he locks his other hand, like exactly the Darce choke, low Darce choke, and then starts pulling his hands together and his elbows together onto the back, and then Tama does a great job fencing his outside elbow out to make some space there, and you see Ty just go, nope, I'm gonna keep it,
taking it,
and then Tama rolls to his back, and Ty like rolls him back in, and you see this fight. I went, I don't think Johnny Tama is gonna get out of this. Like Johnny Tama's an amazing dude that's hard to sub, but Rotolo is locked.
I mean, it's already locked in. You can fight as much as you want. You're not getting out.
And again, you're not going to gas out Rotolo anymore. No. Like, he had that problem once, and he was like, nope, not going to have that problem ever again.
He also has, like, a brother that's a little bit bigger,
The smaller. This is the 85 bracket.
This is the 85, okay, yeah.
Ty's the bigger one,
but I mean,
the smaller
still,
one.
You have somebody who's almost your size.
And you've been training with since birth, essentially.
Yeah, you beat the shit out of each other.
You've seen their rounds in their garage?
Yeah, I'm
they
sure.
They have some dope-ass rounds.
But then they go and surf, and they're like normal teenagers. It's kind of crazy.
Which is kind of adorable. Locks of a Darce choke on John Tama.
Wasn't he on vacation at one point? Like, for one
That was
tournament?
before the last Who's Number One.
He was like, I'm on vacation.
They called him in on like no notice,
Yeah.
and it was like he didn't look like amazing because like he just came off vacation.
But he didn't look bad either.
No.
I
Never looks bad.
I hate people like that.
Dude.
I hate people that take like 6 months off and they come back to jiu-jitsu and they still freaking are good at it.
I love
screw them.
I love champions just doing champion shit. And dude,
Screw them.
this Darce, again, I want to highlight just how fucking crazy this Darce was. The distance he covers to jump this Darce is I do not recall in a high level match the last time I have ever seen this. Like someone jump a Darce from that distance and lock it in and and finish it. It wasn't like that bullshit snap down Darce. We were kind of trying to make it. It was like he jumps it from distance, locks his hands in, and then finishes it.
Yeah.
Wild. So that was the opening round.
Yeah.
Next match we had Dante Leone defeating John Blank via decision. Dante's wrestling looks good. He consistently wrestles up Thor. Thor continues to take the low butterfly guard position and scoop, but Dante is hip to it and knows how to deal with it and really never lets Thor wrestle up effectively. Whenever Dante's on the bottom, he's consistently shooting up and double-legging Thor, and it was something where we never saw Thor be able to open up his game. Never really saw him to get into the legs. And whenever he got to the leg, Dante would just strip it, move out, reset, and then work into passing again. Whenever they stand, John would either pull or Dante would take him down, and that was the flavor of the match. And
pretty much.
Tama, third time, Dante looked good. Consistently, Dante's looked good, and next match we had the fourth biggest upset. I kind of hesitate to call this a big upset, although Jimenez was, I think they kept saying it, the plus 700 favorite in his match versus Jacob Couch. Historically has had some issues with the leg locks. Jacob Couch finishes a really nice inside heel hook, and he had Jimenez on
less than 2 minutes.
1 minute,
little long. 1 minute
53.
No, it says 1 minute 53. I'm looking at it.
Bullshit.
So
that fast?
153.
Holy shit. Couch looked good.
Yeah,
and again,
Couch looked good, and
Couch of Daisy Fresh fame of Pedigo fighting.
Jimenez just didn't really respond correctly.
He made some mistakes here and there, but that's something we've seen Jimenez like. Jimenez, if you get Jimenez in Jimenez's game, he's astonishingly hard to beat. If you let him open up, you let him get to the close guard, let him get double unders,
maybe,
hard to beat.
I mean, it could have been also that he didn't think that it was as bad as it was. Because when he went to stand up, it looked like he was just going to, but
Couch spent this entire match threatening Jimenez with heel hook attempts.
That's all he
does. And Jimenez almost got to his back the one time, but Couch did a really good job flattening his shoulders out.
You say that whole match, 2 minutes.
This match in my head was 8 minutes long. The amount that Couch threw up.
Yeah.
But I think and this is an interesting match too, because Couch had some problems with who's number one.
Yeah.
He's a newer brown belt, I think. He's been getting some good matches recently. He's had some struggles against some Atos guys. But in this tournament, he's a late replacement. I forget who he replaces, but it's he came out and he came into this tournament like a guy with nothing to lose. And it was awesome. Because
he's always, if you watch him enough, he has that philosophy.
Yeah, but it was cool. Yeah. And this is kind of why I love jiu-jitsu, because Jimenez is one of the favorites in the division, and you're against a guy, a late replacement in Couch. It's look, I give you by Jimenez. That was to be expected because I'm the 700 underdog.
Yeah.
I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go out there and go ham on this guy. I get beat, whatever, it happens.
Yeah.
But if I do win, it'll be astonishing. And he does. And he finishes Jimenez with a heel hook. He locks up a really nice inside Senkaku on the triangle in the legs, and then just rips it. Jimenez stands up on it in attempting to try to push it forward. But because Couch's legs are threaded all the way through, he's not able to get any distance.
He doesn't really drop his knee either.
Yeah.
He needed to not
stand up.
He did not stretch his leg out. He needed to compress his leg
and turn away from it and heel slip
went the wrong direction.
He just stood up instead, and Couch used it.
I guess maybe he thought he could stand up, maybe push the reap down, push
That's
the
what
triangle
I think
down.
He was looking to
and
do.
then just pull his leg out. You know how you normally just donkey kick out,
limp leg out of
pull your leg out.
Limp leg out of a single leg or something like that, or not single leg, a single leg X or something.
Yeah.
But dude,
you can do it out of a single leg too when you think about it.
You can, but it's
if they
harder.
start going low, you can.
Yeah, but Couch wasn't low. Couch was high. He was across. This is the fourth heel hook attempt that was super deep, And Jimenez did a great job fighting the hands. Again, almost sort of gets to Couch's back when his leg is still trapped once.
Yeah.
But Couch just gets out and continues to fight and gets the heel hook. And this was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see because Couch is a guy with a lot of momentum, a lot of hype behind him. And, the hype it's there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Couch here in a minute. Getting it done. Next, we had Michael Galvao defeating William Tackett via decision.
I don't think, is Micah's name spelled like that? Because that's like the stone Micah. Like, I thought
it's like Mike IL or something.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. Anyway.
I'm going to call him Michael Galvao because that's how I pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's spelled in a funny way. Defeats William Tackett via decision. I think these guys, was this a rematch? Do you know?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
And I think Galvao beat him very similarly.
It was recently.
It was like who's number one, I think.
It was either that or 3G.
Might have been a 3CG.
Or 3CG.
Yeah, third coast grappling.
Because I think Micah came in last minute, and remember he won that bracket. And I
that
think
was third coast grappling.
And that Tackett was part of that bracket, right? Or am I completely making things up in my head? I don't know. But
I thought it was a who's number one event. I don't know why I think that was, but Galvao looks good. Tackett comes in.
He might have been a late replacement. They might have. Okay, so I'm
was
getting it
late
confused.
placement.
Yeah, I'm getting it confused because that was the weekend that Micah won who's number one, and then the next day
yes, that's what it was.
he did 3CG and freaking beat all them because that was the bracket.
And then he lost to Pedro Mourinho.
Yeah, because that was the bracket they put him in with Pat Downey, because Pat Downey wasn't it Pat Downey? They like randomly threw Pat
versus
Downey.
Mourinho was the first round.
Yeah, and it was like, what the hell? Pat Downey. Like Pat Downey might throw him, but that's all we got.
Mourinho's gonna heel hook him. Then,
And what did he do?
I think so Couch actually replaces Mourinho.
Possibly.
Yeah, and that's what happened. So yeah, we had that replacement. So Michael Galvao defeats William Tackett via decision. Into the semifinals, we had Michael Galvao defeating Jacob Couch via armbar, and it was.
Yeah, that was quite the armbar.
It was deep.
I was like, he's going to let it break. Like, Couch might just let his arm break.
Dude, it was like...
Because there was... I mean, I have very flexible shoulders, so I can do all kinds of weird shoulder shit that is weird. But his facial expression during the armbar was definitely not one of comfort.
It was gruesome. It was just like, oh, cool, my arm's going to break, and I'm going to, like, try to get out of it.
Yeah.
And it was...
I mean, good on him. He tried to get out of it.
You got to try, man. Like,
yeah. You got to see what you can do.
Yeah, it was super. He kind of gets out of the first one, and then eventually, like I think the first armbar.
Like initially, yeah.
The initial
and then he
armbar
just
was
kind
even
of resets
deeper.
his legs and goes.
Because you see the armbar like super extended the first time, and then you're like, oh, it's gonna break, and then Couch is able to turn his hips, and he kind of shucks Galvao to the front.
Yeah.
And then Galvao like turns away and switches it from middle to thigh.
Yeah.
As like Couch is starting to defend it coming up.
Which I love power armbars.
They're great.
They're the shit.
And is able to get the win.
They're gonna fuck your arm up though.
Yeah, they are definitely gonna fuck your arm up. Gets it again. Very quick match. Michael Galvao looks very, very dominant. In that win. Next match we had Ty Rotolo defeating Dante Leone. So I love listen to BJ Heroes as power guillotine. Like, I mean,
there was a lot of power behind that guillotine.
There was. Hips over, just...
You say guillotine instead of guillotine?
I say everything wrong.
I don't know which one is actually... I like to say guillotine because it reminds me of like...
I think the technical word is guillotine.
Because of revolutionary France and people getting their head cut off.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a guillotine. Guillotine?
I
think it's guillotine is the right word. I just tend to mince everything together.
Okay.
Now I'm super self-conscious about that, Miranda.
What,
Thank
guillotine and guillotine? You should know. It's your jam.
It is my jam. I think it is...
Guillotine?
I think it's guillotine. Because it's got a U in it.
Okay.
Not guillotine, because there's no... I wouldn't pronounce the U there.
Well, we will call it the guillotine.
Now I'm all confused.
Okay, just let's move on to the next match, and we will go back to what we refer to as guillotines.
As the guillotine.
As the guillotine.
Guillotine or the guillotine.
Or the guillotine. Because GUI is guy in French.
Yeah, and it's a French. It's a French word.
I took 4 years of French. I can't speak anything. I can say nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. Anyway,
really, really high mounted guillotine turns him over.
Yeah,
and that's again, it's a guillotine I like. Wasn't an arm in guillotine like the female final match.
It was a let's pop your head off guillotine.
It was like a very,
guillotine.
very like I'm super strong, gonna finish this beautiful technique, but good guillotine.
Probably give you a nice neck adjustment.
Dude, it looked like it was going to take his head off. Then the final match, let's talk about that. We had Ty Rotolo versus Michael Galvao. Definitely not my favorite finals match.
No, they definitely both were kind of holding back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Neither guy wanted to open up. Neither guy wanted to do stuff. Rotolo did more on the top. He forced Galvao into the guard, and Galvao,
which is weird that I'm surprised that Micah didn't open up, because we've seen Micah open up on
but we've also seen guys like, it's kind of the Craig Jones problem.
Yeah,
that if you open up super hard on the guy, he has two swords and he is gonna just gonna just chop through you. So you have to play more defensively, but that is not as much of Micah's style. And so Ty Rotolo is a guy that if you open up, like, look at his ADCC run as a child.
Yeah.
Like, you open up on him, he's going to try to take it home. And his match with Dante, you open up on him, like, he's going to try to
that
finish
by his coaching staff. And, I mean, he knows being in that bracket.
We also know, like, you guys are both a little tired.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to compete with a guy who's also a similar age, who has endless gas tank, who has been competing at that high level a little longer than you have.
Yeah, definitely.
And is super, super dangerous. And then you're trying to push for an advantage, and then you get into a stalemate. And both guys kind of got to that point because they're both super dangerous. And there was a stalemate. There's a lot of, like, both of them pressing in each other's faces, trying to, like, muffler choke from the top or the bottom.
Are mufflers legal in this rule set?
You think so? Because they were doing...
ADCC, they took them out. What the hell?
They took it... Yeah, they did take them out.
They took them out.
Thanks, Wagner.
I know.
But so this match was a bit frustrating. I definitely was my least favorite finals match.
And for a 30-minute match.
It was a very long... It was a very long match. I think the referee could have... would have pushed more aggressively for penalties.
After the match, I swore, and I'm guessing it was partially just me being... Oh, it wasn't his finals match where he ran off with the check. They were giving them these big $1,000 checks to take pictures with when they subbed somebody. And after one of the matches, Micah ran off with it. And I really did think that he
Harp versus Couch.
That he ran off with the only check. And I was like, he just ran off the check. They didn't even go after him. But then I realized that they each got a check. So
they each got a check. It's awesome.
Dude, I want a freaking check.
I want a big ass check.
I know.
So Ty Rotolo takes this via split decision. Very close match. You can make arguments either way. I think that Rotolo on the top did a little more for a little more of the match. I think he was a little more aggressive at the beginning and controlled the position a little bit better. A huge portion of the match was Galvao holding guard, and I think that was to his detriment. I think had he opened up,
because that looks more like you're kind of stalling at that.
No, he
point.
was holding the guard.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to attack.
Wasn't making huge efforts to break the guard.
No.
But Micah also wasn't making huge efforts
to
do anything off the guard, and so I think that was the deciding factor for me, at least thinking about the match again in my head. Again, it was a very long match. 30 minutes is a very long match, and I can't think of any specific pronounced moments where I would definitely give it to this guy. They both had little moments here and there, but especially at the end of the match, it was, it was a bit slower. So let's talk about the consolation bracket here.
Okay.
We have Johnny Tama and...
wrong one. You have John Black.
Oh, yeah, so we had... Okay, so Tama's out.
Yeah.
And then we had the second round, we had John Blank versus Jacob Couch.
Yeah.
And Thor blows his own knee a little bit.
Yeah.
And finishes a
reverse triangle.
Interesting reverse triangle off of the guard.
I like reverse triangles from getting past.
I watched this 4 different times to figure out. I made a comment on Reddit that was wrong.
Did you?
I initially thought that John had gotten the armbar off of this triangle, and then I watched the replay a couple of times, and it was a straight up beautiful reverse triangle from like
in a squeeze.
Yeah, because dude, Thor is so ridiculously strong.
Yeah, well, which is why he has the nickname Thor. I mean, there probably is another reason why he has the nickname Thor, but I would think a very strong person would have that nickname.
Yeah, sorry, Bandit's doing weird stuff.
That's okay.
Yeah, so
dogs got to be dogs.
Finishes a super tight reverse triangle on Couch. I think pretty quickly in the match. I think just a little over 7.5 minutes into the match. Nope. I can't find what this match is. Going through brackets, just being confused.
See, this is where it gets all screwed up, because depending on where you look, you can't. It says that Blank then forfeited the Couch, which he did forfeit the Couch because he was injured. So then Couch.
No, he didn't. He submitted Couch, and then he forfeited after.
He forfeited after.
But
for whatever reason, online, there's a variety of different ways.
Yeah,
it's
well,
explained.
so on Full Grappling right now, there's an issue with it has Thor having lost the match to Couch because he didn't continue. So even in the records for Flow Grappling, it has the result flipped. So I think it's just a database error.
Yeah.
Where it's like Thor is listed as the loser of that match.
But then in whatever this is, Flow, what's the Flow
Arena?
bracket? Flow Arena, it has Couch winning by forfeit.
Yeah, and that's why I think
So,
I think there's an error there.
Yeah.
Because I think they took the Arena result into the bracketing, and that's how they did it. Because I think they use Arena as the back end for it. So I hope that gets corrected because I don't like it. Always bothers me when records are wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's just like I'm super anal about like
Why wouldn't
how
it?
records are kept. And again, it's a match I would like to see in the next probably 3 years. I'd like to see these guys go back at it again. So Couch moves on. And in the first round, we have Jimenez versus Tackett. Jimenez has pulled out, I think, with injury, so Tackett moves on. Tackett faces Dante Leone. Dante looks great in the match.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tackett hits one of Zach's favorite submissions.
Yeah.
He hits a front side calf slicer with the arm. And this is a submission that I fucking hate because I was a blue belt and I blew a dude's knee out with this. And right before I asked him, I had it in, we were training. I was like, hey, you good? He was like, yep. And then I like turned to my hip, like not aggressively, a little bit. And his knee goes, pop. And then he went and got knee surgery.
Oh, good
And
times.
I felt his knee explode in my arms. And I went, this is a really good technique that I'm okay at. And I have like barely done it since because it's such a weird, it's not really a calf slicer. It's like it is not a knee splitter. It is like a compression lock that because your forearm is underneath their knee, when you push into their shin and pull it closer, it separates the joint of the knee between the femur and the tibia.
Yeah.
And it like opens that space up.
Yeah.
And
Which
it's
some
this
people
weird
have
lock.
that extra area too.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder when you see people's knees that are more floaty.
When they have no ACLs left, yes.
Well, that too, but.
So yeah, so Tackett finishes that, and it's wild because Dante again is such an adept leg locker, but Tackett again came in after this.
But that is kind of a weird. I mean, it's definitely not something that you're used to having done. I mean, if you have somebody who does it all the time to you, but it's not. It's more uncommon.
It's not uncommon. It's more uncommon than you would expect.
Yeah.
Although I don't think it should be because we do see it at a frequency enough where it's like we see it in the leg entanglements enough where guys should be aware of it. And again, Dante was aware of it. He didn't let his knee explode on it. But it's a really cool sub that I think Zach and I talked about it, we're going to see start to come to prominence a bit more because it is so available in a lot of those leg locking positions.
True.
Where you throw the outside leg over in the 50-50. If their leg's on the inside trying to elevate you, you can throw your arm in the calf slicer position there underneath that leg and essentially lock it into place.
Yeah.
And you prevent them from freeing their leg over and you can put huge pressure on their knee. And it's like, it's a relatively safe attack to go through. You can sometimes get caught up there where they can pass on you.
Yeah.
But if you're pushed away like Tackett is here, it's a really, really strong sub. And so it's cool to see an uncommon submission like this that we see, but again, I think we will see come to prominence,
it was executed,
more so later.
It was executed well.
Yeah, it's executed really well. And then we have the third place match. We have Jacob Couch defeating William Tackett via decision. And what can you say? Dude looked good. Dude put on the performance of... Actually, he's already put on great performances here. He gets in because Blank can't continue because Blank, when he was in the rubber guard earlier in the match with Couch, blew his own knee out a little bit or had a knee issue of some sort. I don't really know what knee issue he had.
Yeah.
So
he pops his knee a certain way.
And Couch moves on to take on William Tackett. And
to lose 2 times in a row and come back and win.
Yeah. Lose by sub.
Yeah.
He submits Jimenez. He loses by armbar to Galval kind of quickly.
I mean, that's kind of, that takes something. It takes a little bit of something to be able to.
You fought 2 super tough guys and had 2 really tough matches where guys put you in tough places and then submitted you. And then to come out in your third place match versus a guy who just submitted Nogi World Champion, 4th place ADCC medalist, all ADCC Charlton, William Tackett, to go out versus that guy and put on the performance that he did. And then match finishes and it's like, he knows, he won.
Yeah.
And you watch Couch break down and it was like, that's a cool, that's a dude that came in ready to go, ready to put it all on the line, and got the opportunity to, with the pullouts, despite everything, to take home I assume
I wonder if they
what is
did
his
it. I wonder if they
biggest
did a
check.
Daisy Fresh episode from that.
They have to.
I don't know if they follow him around all the time or if they just follow him around certain times.
You don't think that they had that they had him there? They didn't have cameras on him.
I don't know.
I would hope they.
I would hope they do
because that
it would
dude
be
just
fun.
won $7,500.
Yeah.
In the biggest
And
tournament
they're gonna
he's been
buy.
in.
They're gonna buy a bunch of Panda Express.
They're
going
gonna
to
buy a bunch of Panda Express
and maybe
they
create
earned
a
it.
little hut somewhere to
And
live in.
They earned it, man.
Yeah.
Like good for Couch. He comes
Dude,
out.
I love some Panda Express.
I
Some
love
good
Panda
shit.
Express. It's great. It's right next to the house too. It's awesome. It's right
Yeah.
up the street. Comes out, looks good. Takes a very close but good decision over Tackett. It's a split decision, and you can definitely make an argument either way. But I thought the areas that he excelled, he looked good. He consistently was in every fight with Tackett, and gets the nod, gets the split decision, and takes it. And it's really, I think, a Cinderella story. And I love stories like this in grappling because you got a guy who's relatively unknown, doesn't have huge wins, gets last minute into a tournament and showcases how good he can be in the right circumstances, goes in with nothing to lose, everything to prove, and does it. So cool. It's a cool story, cool moment. And again, it's a nice story from these tournaments. What division you want to go to next? Want to do men's or women's? We got the 55ers or we got the strawweights. What do you want to go to next?
Let's do strawweights.
Let's do the strawweights next. Moving on to the women's 115-pound division. Let me find it. Yep, I got it here. First round, we had Maisa Bastos defeating. Let me find my bracket results here.
Win.
Yeah, I can't find her.
Alex Win.
Yeah, Alex Win. Let me
Who
scroll
Alex
here.
Win is sort of a local. She's
Jersey.
PG County.
Is she PG County?
She's PG County. She's what is this?
Not standard.
Standard.
She a standard?
Yeah.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't know, Maryland native. We're here in Baltimore.
Yeah, there's only so many of us in this area, so we definitely all know each other. Especially the female grapplers, we definitely all know. There's legit 10 of us, so we all kind of go against each other.
I was talking to Rachel a couple of days ago, and she's like, I was like,
Alex was always too young for me.
Yeah.
And then she like went off to expert like almost immediately, and I stayed in my little intermediate class as long as I could. And now I stay with old people because, I don't need some 17-year-old beating my ass.
Dude, I love that. I love when I get 17 you're like, hey, you're not going to be strong yet, but it's going to be really good. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to suck.
I get to have old man strength versus a child and then they still get beat. I'm like, fun time. So, Maisa Bastos beats Alex Win via decision. Bastos looks very dominant here.
Oh, yeah,
For
definitely.
the entire match. Next match, we had Teme Musamechi defeating Tabi Alaquin, Amanda Alaquin via decision. Again, much more of the same. A lot of these matches for the women's 115 are
a 50-50.
50-50.
Trying to back take.
Double-seated open guard, trying to back take, trying to work for a leg lock, everyone being very gummy, no one being ever really able to get great leg position to pummel in for heel hooks or pummel in for ankle locks or pummel in for stuff. I mean, Jessican...
Lots of toe hold attempts that you just look at people's feet bending in different directions and you're like, ew,
well, they just have that.
Kinda...
A lot of the women here in this division have that flexibility. And because it's such a huge part of the meta in these lower women's weight classes, and because you see so much double-seated open guard, like what's available there a lot of times are toe holds.
Yeah.
And so because you're not going to get somebody to commit their foot far enough in to ever get a heel hook, you see a lot of like reaching toe holds and inversion on toe holds. And because I think that is such a standard thing, you have a lot more flexibility in the feet. And I think one of the commentators, I forget who said, it might have been Sean Williams. I want to get your thought about this. Talked about that a lot of the women don't have the upper body like strength here in order to break the foot in the toe hold the way that you kind of see in a lot of men's divisions. I didn't know what your thought was on that.
Your whole thought process of putting their toes in their butt.
Well, they don't physically have like the strength there with the upper body.
But you have your whole upper body versus their toe.
It was an
foot.
interesting thing in commentary.
It's a weird, I mean, women, we don't have the upper body strength,
right?
Like I shouldn't say that. Generally speaking, our upper body are strawweight women, and women in general, your upper body strength is not as good as your lower body strength.
Right.
All your powers in your legs and your hips. And
I don't necessarily agree with the commentary there. I just thought it was an interesting thing that I had not heard before.
I mean, I think it's possible, but I think also a lot of smaller women, you're bendy as hell. So like your ankles go directions that like are crazy. Like my shoulders go directions that are completely insane sometimes.
Yeah.
And like
you're just going to explode me with that.
Yeah, I mean,
women typically have more flexible ligaments than most men do.
Yeah.
And they don't have the strength to just like blow through something as easily. So I think I
think it's still possible. I just think it's
definitely.
more,
I've seen it happen.
Yeah,
but
it's
it was
just more difficult.
I kind of wanted to get your opinion on it because it was something I had never heard brought up before as a thing. And again, given I'm not as a woman, I don't think
it's a lack of strength thing. I think it's more of a
combination.
A combination of everything. You know.
It was interesting. Not that I agree or disagree with it because I don't have. I'm not a stronger woman. I don't know.
But I'm not either, for the record. Like, I used to be 115. That was a long time ago.
Did you ever fight 115?
No. 125 is as small as I ever got.
I went to 135 once, and Rachel said she would divorce me if I go there.
I did 123, and I want to try to. I'm trying to go back to 125, which is gonna suck ass. Let me tell you, my diet is gonna suck, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so if I become a complete asshole, I apologize for everybody and everything.
Next match, we had Jessican defeating Jessica Crane via inside heel. After all that talk about like women not finishing footlocks.
Yeah, and then we have an inside.
Well, we have Jessica really like doing really well with the pummeling here. And she gets in deep on a heel hook, and she fights for it. And
so I've saw Jessica compete at a Naga in Virginia. I was still
She's from New Jersey.
I was still white belt. It was her and this other female that's named Lady Armbar. Who's now out of Florida.
Yep.
The two of them, they were trying to get Naga to put them in women's white belt in that bracket. And not the guy that owns Naga, I forget his name.
Kip. Mm-hmm.
Kip refused to. So he put them in blue belt, and they went against one of my friends in blue belt. And they freaking killed everyone. And they were like maybe 13, 10, 11, like they were young. They were super young.
That's funny.
And they had like these orange belts. One was an orange belt, one was a green belt. I want to say she was an orange belt. And they just like devastated the entire blue belt division. And they wanted to put us in with us and white belt. And that was my first ever Jessica experience. And then that was right before she went to AOJ.
Yeah.
And then she went to AOJ.
Yeah.
And she kind of took off when she hit AOJ.
Yeah, so looks good. Pummels to she kind of finishes the heel hook really extended here, where the legs are kind of open, but she has a really nice bite on it, turns the hips out, and then is able to finish the inside heel hook on Jessica Crane. Sorry, Jessica Crane. God, it's been a rough week.
Yeah.
On the semifinals, we had Maisa Bastos rematching Tammy Musumeci and defeating her via decision. Very positional game. Yeah. Tammy working from the bottom. Bastos.
Tammy trying to get the back. Tammy not getting the back. That was the favorite. The match. Kind of the flavor of the match. And then in the semifinals, we had Grace Gundrum defeating Jessica via twister. Yeah.
Like a weird modified twister from like a really high leg position.
And it was pretty late in the match too, right?
It was
towards the very
This was the
like
twister.
It was almost the very end of the match, I thought. Because I remember being like, oh shit, she's going to get a twister. And there was.
It says 6:17, but I think it was way later than that. Well, she had the calf slicer there.
Oh, okay.
She had that leg trapped in like the calf slicer position, and she gets there and she can't ever kind of fully get to the back with the calf slicer to finish it.
Oh, that was what it was.
And then.
It's like she almost went into a banana split at one point, and then she went from the banana.
Yeah, Grace's wrestling is
she went into a banana split. That's okay. That was the excitement that was going on in the room. Because I remember people being excited over the twister because the person that was sitting beside me puts me in a twister puts me in a banana split every time we roll. Yeah. Every single time. Mm-hmm. So
it's a good move.
Yeah, because they suck.
They're not great. So Grace finishes a modified. It's a twister, but it's a modified twister off of the leg being trapped underneath for the calf slicer, like the back kick calf slicer, and then comes over and then locks and just fights it very, very well. For to prevent the hand position, but we've been watching Grace finish twisters since she was 13.
Yeah,
like I remember Gundrum twistering people at a young age. She's again that 10th planet, that old school 10th planet, old school now.
She had Eddie Bravo coaching her.
Yeah,
I mean
that old school twister game.
I'm sure he was screaming all kinds of weird shit. Yeah. I've heard him coach people before.
He's a really good mat side coach.
He's an interesting mat side coach because he doesn't give you step by step. He just gives you statements. He just says something.
I remember hearing him the first time I heard him coach. The first time I think it registered to me how good his mat side coaching was. I think one of the quintets, and then I heard him again at the Subversive.
I would say this: I personally would not like him as my coach.
I thought he was a great mat side coach.
I think it comes off slightly arrogant at the way he coaches. I would not be coached well by him. But there are a few people that can coach me and actually effectively coach me without me yelling back at them. So
Coaching
I don't know.
styles. Well, she had Eddie there. She had J.M. Holland there, and Zach.
Yeah.
That whole finishers team.
Oh, yeah.
And Eddie, and she's trained with all three of those guys. You know, she's up at 10th Planet Bethlehem,
Yeah.
and she's been there for a very long time. We know she goes over and trains with that whole group with Eddie. There's some rolling footage of her and Gio Martinez from like way back in the day before in EBI.
Yeah,
like
I'm sure they
looks
all.
great. Finishes that classic 10th Planet Twister.
I've never actually rolled with her before. One of these days I need to. I've been in the same room as her, but I've never rolled with her. She's I've heard she's very, very good to roll with.
I've heard it's very, very, very difficult.
It's very difficult, and you find yourself in places that you never thought you would find yourself before.
So next match, or finals match at this point, we have Maisa Bastos defeating Grace Gundrum via decision. Very 30-minute match, very even through most of it.
Yeah.
Very, not slow-paced, but it was...
But Bastos picks up the pace at the end.
Yeah,
she
well, I mean, really...
outpaces her at the
I think
end.
Grace took it at certain points in the match because Grace had better leg lock attempts and entries. Yeah. Bastos took it for some positional work. Or I think it went Bastos, Grace, and then the last like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Bastos gets a head and arm.
And she picks it up.
She like turns on the afterburners.
Yeah. Gets
to the mount, and you're kind of curious if she's gonna like. I thought Bastos did exactly what she was going to do, which was stay to the mount. Keep the head and arm, the arm triangle, keep fighting for it a little bit, but never really look to fall off and finish it until the last 15 seconds.
Yeah, because why give up position?
No. And also, because as soon as you can do a scramble with Grace has nothing to lose, you're going to have a leg lock scramble with Grace Gundrum that is never a good place to be because Grace can finish you so quick.
So you got to try to at least get something out of it. Don't get your penalty for stalling, but at the same time... Don't do something stupid.
No, and
Don't put yourself in a stupid position.
so they was such a close. I mean, they literally had swapped who was winning throughout the match, and so that last stage for the last 3 minutes of the match with Bastos on top, working for the head and arm triangle, is for me what very clearly seals it for Bastos because she finishes the match on top, working for the sub. And the judge gave it a decision. I think it was a very reasonable decision. Again, Bastos, I think, is the only person in this event who was the front runner for the division that ended up taking it. I think every other person was an upset win victory for the
because with Riotolo, neither Rotolo brother was a favorite. They were up there, but they weren't the favorites.
No.
And
So in the consolation bracket for the women, we had Amanda Tubby Aliquin defeating Alex Wynn via knee bar. Loved this knee bar. It was a spin through knee bar. Again, very similar to kind of what we saw in trials 2 weeks ago. And just super tight knee bar. And
it was fully extended. I was like, there goes your knee. Bye knee.
We had Danielle Kelly defeating Jessica Crane via inside heel hook.
Danielle Kelly can pick up the heel hooks.
Yeah, no. As soon as she pummeled it on the inside and pulled the leg through,
you were like, that's a problem.
Like Danielle Kelly has a really adept leg game, really nice. Actually, and Tubby Aliquin has a really good knee bar game too.
Yeah,
that's kind of like in the consolation bracket. Kind of went how I expected the consolation bracket to because women had tough first round matches, and then their second and third round matches were like, okay, I'm gonna get my A game going, get my sub game going, so they can showcase like,
and there was more subs in the Ripacharge.
I love how we can just look up how to pronounce
whatever that is, but there was more subs in that part of the bracket than the main bracket.
Yeah.
Well, there was more subs in that bracket.
We had Tubby Aliquin defeating Jessican via toe hold. Again, 2 back-to-back submissions in the consolation bracket, one over Alex Wynn, and then the second one over Jessican. Toe hold again. It was a more extended toe hold, but she turns it in. And again, Khan tries to sort of roll through for defense, but isn't able to get their hips out and isn't able to get the leg free again.
Toe holds, unless you straighten out like immediately, you're kind of screwed.
Mm-hmm. And Aliquin has such a good leg lock game.
Yeah.
She finishes that, and Musumeci defeats Danielle Kelly via armbar.
Yeah.
Tammy doing what Tammy does. I think it was from the guard.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it was the same. That it was the triangle lock guard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't think what it's called.
High guard.
Yeah. But like she doesn't lock it, like she doesn't put her ankles over each other. She definitely does the triangle thing.
Yeah, the
And I
no-arm
can't-
triangle variation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third place match for this division, we had Tim Musumeci defeating Amanda Aliquin via decision. Definitely a more slower paced match. We saw some of the world's Tammy come out again, which was going to play a much more conservative game, going to lock someone
Which
down.
we haven't seen Tammy for a while, so
I think it's been 3 years
so
or
it's
2
taken,
years.
It took her a little time to warm up, but she definitely did get a little more
And then
excitement as time went on.
Take 7,500 for the third place match here.
Yeah.
So, let's move on. I think we have one more division, right?
Yep.
We have the men's 115 pound.
No, 55. 155.
150. Jeez.
There is no men at 115.
Men's strawweight. No, we have men's lightweight.
I mean, there are men at 115.
There are men at 115. Men's
But
mostly in Asia.
Yes.
Let's see. I gotta find it again. 115. Here we go. Oh yeah.
155.
So fourth biggest.
55.
Fourth 155. Men's 155 division. The fourth biggest upset of the tournament. We
Yeah.
have opening round. Gabriel Souza defeats Mikey Musumeci via north-south choke.
I think it was Gabrielle. It's Gabrielle. Because,
Gabriel Souza.
yeah, right? It's not Gabriel. It's Gabrielle.
Okay.
That's how they were pronouncing it.
That's probably how you pronounce it then.
Okay,
Again,
anyway.
we've had an outro on the show since 2018
Yeah.
that's, hey, if you want us to pronounce your name correctly, let us know
Yeah.
because we're not
I think
the name
it's
folks.
Gabrielle. He's from North Carolina. He's relatively close, which I never really realized until
Is he
the ones.
really?
Yeah, Z team or ZR team.
ZR team, yeah. Okay,
and
they're
they're
North Carolina, aren't
North
they?
Carolina. Yeah. Which I didn't realize until and then I realized that I've seen him I think I saw him at Toro. I think I was on the Toro card
Toro
that he
Cup?
was on.
He's done Toro before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I was there. I think he went against
Toro Cup 7,
Yeah, one of them.
something like that.
Anyway, but he defeated Mike Musumeci. He just definitely he bullied him.
Yeah.
And it worked. Which I mean, normally Mikey will pick it up, but he passed his
I think
guard.
it was
and I was
interesting.
like,
And somebody
holy hell.
online brought it up that Mikey, in an 80cc rule set, might struggle.
Yeah.
And I think, especially as the smaller guy, I think Souza leveraged his weight here very well.
In the 80cc rule set, now that they changed that you don't get negative points for pooling.
No, you still do.
No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. I've been arguing with if they change the rule that you cannot get negative points for the first 3 minutes of your match and that you can pull now, because I watched all those mofos do it at the European.
Yeah, but the negative point doesn't get added until the point section. So you get a negative point that is only added when you get into the point section of the tournament.
I don't know about that.
That is trust me, that is the rule because I looked it up.
I know, but read the new rule and see what the new rule says.
New rule.
I'm
going
to argue anyway.
That's fine.
I'm just
so
saying.
We saw Mikey kind of get bullied around a little bit here, and Souza gets past his guard twice, I think.
Yeah.
Or once. Was it the once?
I think it's twice because I think he does it once, and then he does it the second time he gets to the north-south.
And he gets to the north-south, and he locks the choke in, and then he just settles down in the choke, and you can see, Souza's obviously the bigger man.
Yeah.
But it's But
then you see Mikey's hand come up, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is actually gonna happen."
And he taps him.
And
I was
he
like,
taps.
"Well, that fucks up everyone's bracket."
Yeah.
I think the size is too much. I think Mikey. We've seen Mikey do heavyweight. We've seen him do super heavyweight and open weight, but
Yeah.
he has struggled versus guys that don't play jiu-jitsu with him.
Yeah.
If you play jiu-jitsu with Mikey, you're going to lose.
But if you wrestle him,
If
and
you wrestle him-
and you aggressively wrestle him, he doesn't really know how to respond.
Right, he
Or he doesn't
hasn't had
respond
guys
well.
that have pushed him in that way. That's not a game he's needed at rooster weight or at light featherweight.
Well,
He's
and I
been
don't
in the gi for so
I
long.
I would think there's anybody coming into his garage to do that to him.
No one's gonna. But
You
I mean,
know?
you need to be at a certain level. Like Gabriel Souza is at a level that very few guys in
Yeah.
the sport are at in the first place. And then
He's fun to watch. I like watching him.
Yeah, I like Souza.
The
Watch
more I
Souza's
see him-
AJP runs. Watch his runs in UAJJF.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like that's where I think he shines the most.
He's only like 5'5" too.
He's small.
Yeah.
But Mikey's small, but Souza's also like built.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see someone go into a game plan with Mikey and it be so effective.
Yeah.
Like, cool, I'm just gonna not gonna play jiu-jitsu. Kind of what Arnaldo Maidana did.
Yeah.
As well, when Mikey was in medium heavyweight division
Yeah.
for one of the opens, he just didn't play jiu-jitsu with him. He just I'm just gonna kind of smash you.
Yeah.
And not gonna try to play these games with you here. I'm just gonna try to
Yeah.
smash through you.
Well, because if you try to out technique
He's gonna
him,
beat
it's
you.
not going to happen.
And it was just interesting. It was an interesting thing to see someone that is closer in Mikey's weight
Yeah.
be able to do that. And I kind of want to go back and look at the Isaac Doderlin matches that he had back in the day, because Mike only has a couple losses at the weights in his records. And I kind of want to look at that match, because that match in my head stands out as being like one that Mikey lost. And I'm curious to see how he lost it now in retrospect, to see if it was like a very similar problem or a different problem that Souza put him in. But yeah, chokes Mikey Musumeci, finishes it, and everyone's bracket went
bang.
Well, that was not expected. So,
and then he didn't go into the.
No, he was out after that.
Charge.
I'm not sure if that was injury or it was really just a forfeit.
Yeah.
After that, next match we had Josh Cisneros defeating Damian Anderson via armbar. Cisneros looks good as always. It finishes, I think, really, really quick. I think it's about a minute and a half into the match. I don't think it's long. As I get it up here.
I know we have to go into these
stupid
things on our phones because
50 matches.
They don't give us no one gives us a real bracket except for whatever reason, the Flow app.
He gets him off a takedown and then moves to almost into a Darce position, and then from there hits the far side arm, comes over the top, and then finishes a really deep armbar. And again, to Damian Anderson's credit, he fights for it. He fights out of it for like probably 4 or 8 seconds. It gets super extended, and then. Right?
You have it wrong. You have it wrong, and maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm reading the wrong. I'm looking at it wrong.
Looking at the wrong bracket?
I have problems. Am I looking at the wrong bracket?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the wrong bracket. That would help too.
Yeah.
It's been a long weekend, okay?
It's been 55.
I'm off this week, so at least that's.
It's been almost 70 matches this weekend for me.
I should have took a nap today, but I didn't.
So finishes that. Next match we had a match that was super interesting to me. We had Cole Abate defeating Gio Martinez via decision. And this was a match that I went into going, I don't know enough about Abate's game to be able to pick this reliably. We saw Gio Martinez have a match versus Paulo Miao recently where he took that. We saw him have a match versus Mikey Musumeci where Musumeci took that pretty decisively. And I went, Musumeci has a very similar game to Cole Abate. For a lot.
Cole Abate does a lot more Cole Abate has a lot like a better wrestling pedigree.
I'm saying like that's, but that's also not where I thought Gio would fight him.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying like the parallels of the game that I think like the technical aspects of Abate's game and the technical aspects of Musumeci's game, I think share a lot of parallel. But I also, again, was going into this match having not seen a whole lot from Abate. Yeah. Like I saw his Who's Number One match. He's a blue belt. Like I have not got an opportunity or have not really taken time. And to have a blue
belt thrown into a black belt tournament in theory. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It also kind of goes like, is he really a blue belt? If you're beating Gio Martinez via decision and you're looking good versus Gio Martinez, who is...
You're also at AOJ. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're blue belts are not blue belts.
No,
like
they're a different level.
You can't make that argument. And it's an IBJJF thing. Like, Abate's 16. He can't be a purple belt. And that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
But we can absolutely say that as one of the top 10 guys in the world, obviously if you beat Gio Martinez. Gio Martinez is competitive with Mikey Musumeci at the weight.
Yeah.
And he beat world champion Paulo Miao. Like, you're top 10. If you beat Gio Martinez via decision...
I think I saw Gabriel Souza go against Miao. One of the Miaos.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's a fun match.
I think he was a main event for a Toro.
They've been there before.
Yeah.
They've done it.
That was the first time I saw him.
It was Toro.
Because, you
made an argument like Cole Abate is a black belt. You can easily make that argument with his win over Gio Martinez here via decision. It was a very clean decision win. Abate did more. He never let Martinez really open up. He was consistently working for legs, which I was surprised on Martinez, and he made Martinez play defensively. I was surprised. Next match we had Cade Rotolo defeating Diego Pato Oliveira via Darce choke. Do I have the Darce chokes wrong? Was this the jumping? I think this was the jumping Darce choke.
I don't know.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, I have the Rotolo.
Are we getting the Rotolos?
Yeah, I have
confused?
the Rotolo brothers mixed up. This is the Darce choke that I talked about for like all those minutes.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure about it. Where he jumps it from 3 feet away and finishes him. I could be wrong about that. Probably I'm wrong about that, but we're 30 matches in at this point. Like, it was bound to happen eventually. You find it? You found it?
Yeah, I found it.
Yeah.
Rutolo, because I say Riatolo, which is wrong.
Well,
Rutolo's hair
pronounce his name like 4 different ways.
It's some crazy madness. Let me tell you.
Yeah, his afro has gotten absolutely gigantic.
I think more people should have the afro because it's pretty amazing.
I'm honestly kind of curious to see if that affects like tie-ups. There's not many guys that ever have like an afro of that size.
I would be afraid that they would grab a hold of my freaking hair.
Well, you deal with that problem as a woman a lot, right? With the longer hair.
Yeah, when I braid it back and then my braid gets stuck somewhere, it happens all the time. It's annoying.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see if the afro would get like caught in the same way that like long hair would get, because it was huge.
No, we were right because
it's the jumping Dars.
No, it's Dars from.
Oh yeah, no, he just rolls him over.
Yeah, no, we were right.
Cool.
We had the right one. This was just like him, almost like a.
Yeah, it's
a
north-south pull. He gets to the top of side control and just threads it through from the half guard. A more standard Dars. Okay.
Yeah, so we were right.
Cool.
We didn't mess that up
Kaynan
as bad as we thought we did.
Darces Pato Oliveira, and in the first round in impressive fashion. About almost at the end of the match, about 13 and a half minutes into the match.
Yeah.
Second round, we had Gabriel Souza defeating Kolabate via decision. Gabriel Souza looks good, just sort of on top of Abate, never letting Abate really open up,
do anything.
Yeah, and which is
the same thing. I mean,
terrifying prospects. Same
thing he did to Mikey.
Mm-hmm. You have to stifle them. You have to stand that. So he does comes in with a really, really good game plan here.
Oh yeah.
And stifles him. Next match we had Cade Rotolo destroying Josh Cisneros' knee with a modified kind of Isame off of a counter for. Cisneros on a takedown. Cisneros kind of chalks him in, and then he jumps. Cade Rotolo jumps for the scissor leg takedown, the kind of Isame, and then Cisneros' leg
scare the shit out of me.
Makes
for that reason.
Makes us super. That's why they're banned everything. Because like that 1980s judo match where the guy's leg just broke in half and exploded. If you don't play on your hand on the mat, like this is a thing that can happen.
And in the MMA, they normally don't. They go full forward because they don't really care if they blow someone.
No, it's fine.
Out.
Yeah. Also MMA because you're going. It's
a quick move.
It's a quick move, and it's a problem. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Riley Wabicom does it a certain way. Gary Tonin does it a certain way. Gary Tonin does it 2 different ways. The Rotolos do it, in quotes here, like the more dangerous way to your opponent, where they jump straight into the knee line.
Which makes me wonder how the hell they practice that.
It's not, if you know it's coming, it's not hard to practice. The problem is Cisneros is planted on his front leg down, so he can't slide the front leg in wise. So it's what happens. Like if you're not ready for it, because Cisneros is in the process of trying to counter and take down.
Yeah, my knee hurts even thinking about this.
You see it off with a single leg a whole lot. Rotolo jumps for it, and he's not in a position where Cisneros' leg can move at all. And all of the weight of the jump goes into the front knee, and it goes sideways into the knee. So Cisneros goes down, leg pops, he gets injured. But doesn't pull out.
No, he comes back. So
Cade Rotolo moves on after that injury. It's super unfortunate. It happens. It's unfortunate. It's not banned in the rule set. I don't know if they will reevaluate the rule. There are plenty of pro tournaments where it is allowed, and this happens.
When you get to a high level, they should kind of.
Yeah, no.
There should be few things that are not disallowed. And they have to be some crazy ass shit to be disallowed.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate, but you can't take away. I think the scissor leg takedown is such an effective takedown. Look at Gary Tonin versus Ed Benajmi at ADCC. Yeah. Like it is such an effective move when used correctly. You can't just take that out of someone's arsenal. Although is unfortunate when this happens. Yeah, it is what it is.
But you're in a match.
You're in a pro fight for $30,000.
Yeah. For $30,000, I mean your knee.
Next match we had Cade Rotolo, Dars choking again. Gabriel Souza in like just under 7 minutes in the finals.
Yeah. It was
the same Dars. It was like the same Dars he hit earlier in the tournament.
Yeah.
Half guard turns it over. He like almost goes to kind of cement mixer him.
Yeah.
Gets the hand together, and I was watching this going, no way. Like, he's not going to do it twice. After his brother won the previous division, because we were watching matches like back to back for the finals, and it was 5 30-minute matches in a row.
Yeah.
And I went, his brother just won 2 matches ago. Like, there is no way he's gonna finish this. And I looked at the hand position, and you watched him crawl up the back, and I went,
these long arms.
Holy shit, he's gonna finish Gabriel Souza via Dars choke in the finals.
Yeah.
And he does. And Cade Rotolo and his brother win the Who's Number 1 championship and take home I think took home like 66 grand or something like that.
Yeah,
between all the subs and everything else. It was just like, dude, that's a hell of a paycheck for an 18-year-old or 17-year-old for grappling.
So he got at least 3 subs. So that's $3 grand, and then 30 grand for winning.
And they each had both of them. So I think they took home like 66 grand
Oh,
apiece.
and that was the match. That was the match where Ruotolo kept on trying to bait him in to throw.
Oh, you played like donkey guard on him?
Yeah, I thought
it
it looked kind of like donkey guard, and I was like, oh shit, he has a lot of balls to freaking put his back up to Souza like that.
What he was trying to do is he was trying to get Souza to commit to a body lock in the hip and take him down, because as they go to level change for the body lock, you can throw the Uchimata, you can throw the front headlock, the Darce. Like, you have a ton of counter options off of that you can roll through for stuff.
Yeah.
And the person taking you down with that body lock or the inside trip has to commit and get lower than you to do that, and it gives you an opportunity to counter. If you are the younger, longer fighter that plays very well off of counters, it's not necessarily a bad option to do.
At one point, he gave his back to
At one point, he spins the wrong way to give his back, and Souza jumps on it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's, and I was all excited.
It was what we saw happen to Mateus Diniz versus Gordon Ryan.
Yeah,
Mateus Diniz stands up and spins out of Gordon Ryan's hook, and then Gordon Ryan techs up and takes him down off of it. It was really similar, but Cade basically goes to spin out of something for a hook that Gabriel Souza has standing, and Souza dives on it and almost takes him down, and then he stands up and he does it again, and you're like, okay, it's bait. It's definitely bait.
Yeah.
And he's thrown off his feet a little bit, so he can't hide the bait quite as well. Yeah. And it was a really interesting, ballsy move, and then very shortly after.
It's very ballsy.
Yeah. Super ballsy. So moving into the consolation bracket for the men's 155-pound division.
And Musabechi, Abate, and Gio Martinez all are out.
Mm-hmm. So we only have one side of the bracket. We only have Damian Anderson versus Pato. Pato takes that over Damian Anderson. Very controlling match. And then
Cisneros just finds his way into third place. The third place match, I mean.
Well, and then Pato rear naked chokes him. But dude, props to Cisneros coming in after like a big knee injury.
Oh,
and then putting up, I was like, yo.
And stands, doesn't like immediately pull or any kind of,
And there was a discussion on commentary, and I don't know how much it is true that like potentially it was just a scary pop. It didn't hurt his knee, but looking at how Cisneros was on the ground after the match, I assume it was an actual knee injury.
Yeah.
And Cisneros is just that fucking tough.
Yeah.
We have seen Cisneros injure his knee before. I think it pans 2020, we saw him take a knee injury there. Might have been a minor event. I don't know, but it was in the last year we've seen Cisneros hurt that same knee. So hopefully it's just like a recurrent thing.
I would hope in a match of that magnitude, if you lose by injury, it's a real legit injury that has happened.
Yeah.
And that you would know that, because all of us have had things pop and look at it like, oh shit, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that he was kind of battling back after something.
Yeah, I would assume as well.
Again, he
he's
braced it up
tough.
and just went,
yeah,
and just was like, "Fuck it, I'm here already. Why not?"
Yeah, you made it to the final, to the third place match, and then Pato does what Pato does, gets the back, locks on a really deep rear naked choke, and finishes Cisneros in about 8 minutes into the match. Overall, so that's it for all the brackets. That's all the matches. I don't think we fucked up too much, although
we probably did, but hey.
No, we did a great job.
Yeah.
So overall, super fun event. I love it. It was essentially an ADCC replacement for this year, because this is historically when ADCC would have run if the trials would have been able to happen. I'm happy that we got an event in place of it. I thought it was a fantastic event. I love to see grapplers getting paid. I love to see how it ran. I'm a fan of the rule set. I think there's some tweaks and some changes that can be made.
And I think a lot of people kind of poo-pooed on it initially because of all the pullouts and changes. Yeah. And it really didn't. It wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people thought it was going to be.
We got good matches.
Yeah.
Like everyone that was replaced put on good matches.
I think a lot of people were a little angry over some of the replacements, but the replacements did well.
Mm-hmm. And the replacements, and they looked good.
Yeah. Even like Jacob Couch did well.
Took third.
He took third.
But with some
the other one that a lot of people were bitching about was Abate being a blue belt being brought into it. And he did, he held his own.
Beat Gio Martinez.
Yeah. So,
he held, very, very clearly held his own.
So, no one really, the ones they brought in definitely did come up and deliver. So, it was a good event.
Yeah, it was honestly a great event. Like, it got me to watch 30 hours of jiu-jitsu
True.
content. I wish, again, that it would be a little more they would figure out a way to streamline it a little bit.
I would hope them to be a little shorter matches.
I think
like
15,
6 to 8 minutes.
I think 15 minutes is fine, but I think you have a 10-minute match with the option for a 5-minute overtime if it is needed. I think having the matches by mandate go to 15 minutes at all times is too long. I also think that the time between matches was too long, and I think that the time between divisions was too long. There was 2 or 3 divisions that had like almost 10-minute breaks between them, and it's like you have 5 divisions. That is 50 minutes. That's an hour almost of
and
breaks.
You didn't really have any reason. It wasn't like you were having teammates back to back or anything. I mean, you probably did have teammates back to back because we did have a lot of like Atos people, but it wasn't anything that was crazy that you normally would give that
one match.
Yeah, that you would give that space to have them.
No,
you know,
it's a grappling event. It needs to run more quickly. And I think they need to have more content to fill. Like, do not on your broadcast, after you show me commercials on a paid event, which is another point of contention that I have, don't have me look at a flash screen that just says event coming back soon. Like, have a guy that just have two or 4 people that just talk between your matches, like fill with content and commentary, not with blank spaces, because that is hard for an event.
Fun commentary, not boring commentary.
Yeah. Overall, I thought the event was great. For an inaugural event of this caliber, we had over $260,000 paid out to athletes.
It's a crazy amount of money.
It's great to see people get paid. Like, again, I love any event that pays out people. It's great to see. These are some of the best athletes in jiu-jitsu in the world. I like to see them getting paid, and I like them to have an opportunity in a rule set to show off and showcase what they can do. And it was overall just, a great event. I hope that they run it next year or in another 6 or 8 months. I think this is an event I would absolutely love to see.
I don't know, 6 or 8 months, maybe once a year. I think for it being as big as it is.
I think honestly, I would love to see it twice a year. I would love to see it twice a year, 2 major events. I would love to see it not run during ADCC. So you have essentially every 6 months, you have a major bracketed event like this that showcases off the level of talent. You bring new people in. Like, I think this is the pathway to creating a league for jiu-jitsu. You have rankings. We have new number 1 spots in a lot of those divisions. We have better seeding. Like, Flow, if they do this right, can create a league out of this. Yeah. And I think that would do great things for grappling. And now there's money behind it.
True.
And you see people... I guarantee you...
I think they also need to fill out the women's bracket a little bit better because we do need 3 divisions in women.
Yeah,
I agree. 2 divisions in women is a little crazy.
It's tough. It's just because 115 and heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like, that's... You're missing everyone from 125 to 180.
Yeah.
Like, that's
the middle.
The
middle
needs
its own. Yeah. Needs its own thing. Though, I mean, we saw that definitely somebody at like 160, 170 could come out and beat somebody who's 2 something. But...
yeah, overall,
still
super happy with the event.
Yeah.
If it was bad, I wouldn't have spent both of my weekend days watching it. Wouldn't have had people over for it. Wouldn't have watched it at the gym. Like, it was a great event.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to yell at my TV for hours, and I loved it.
It was exciting at times.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm very, very happy with the event. I would be happy to see it again in 6 months.
I'm also interested to see if some of these people that took losses, like Mikey, like when they come out, if they do the trials, which Mikey's going to do the trials, right?
He got an invite last time for ADCC. I don't know after this. I know
if he would change his game up and at least learn, have a different game coming out on something like the trials.
I don't know, but he has wins over Gio, he has wins over Ocasio. Like, it has been successful. When there were Panero, all in Nogi, with the strategy. I'm just curious to see. I think him being so undersized for 55, and again, ADCC, he's going to be doing under 66, which is 45, not 55. 45. So it's again, it's another 10 pounds closer to his weight. I think Mikey probably walks around at 35, maybe 40.
Yeah.
So, he's going up almost 20 pounds here.
Yeah.
And he made rooster weight, which is 26.
Yeah.
With the gi. So it's like, that's, Mikey's not a giant guy. He's giving up weight here. I'm curious to see if he will change it. If he does the trials, I doubt he will do the trials, but you never know.
He might do West Coast trials.
West Coast trials is if he does anything. I haven't checked the registrations for East Coast trials yet. I did it this week.
Can you see him?
I don't know.
I don't think you can see him.
I'll find him.
Okay.
I'll find him. Let's
They're
move on.
supposed to stop letting
October
people
6th.
register, yeah.
October 6th
It's
is
like
the, is the
already a
registration
million
date.
freaking people.
There's over 500 people right now. The previous biggest West Coast trials for ADCC was 390, and that was West Coast Trials ADCC 2019 for North America. I would say that this one probably has 600 people.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long couple of days for me in New Jersey. Yeah. We're going to have fun, though.
It's going to be fun.
I'm going to give you a bunch of cameras, Miranda.
Yay.
So
I get to interview people, so if you see me,
I'll be excited. I'm going to edit so much.
Probably.
So
because I'll wind up saying some awkward shit, probably.
I'll just leave it in. So what do you want to do first? You want to do Fight to Win 185 main event, or do you want to talk about Grapple in the Temple?
We'll do Grapple in the Temple.
So Grapple in the Temple also took place on Friday of this weekend.
Yes.
It was headlined by Mateus Diniz versus David Garmo.
Yeah.
That was the headline match for it.
It was an interesting venue. It was
a temple.
Yeah, it was a Masonic
temple in
awesome.
Michigan, right?
Yeah, Michigan.
Yeah, in Michigan. Diniz looked good. He put really heavy pressure on Garmo, forced Garmo, to fight off his back a lot. Yeah. He was really aggressive with the passing through the majority of the match. I think it was a 10-minute match, something like that.
Something like that.
And I think
he turned it up.
He turned it up towards the last probably 5 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
Gets past Garmo, moves into a modified side control Keisagatame shoulder crush.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a Ezekiel, but I didn't see the hands, so it didn't seem like an Ezekiel.
He taps out David Garmo with something that looked like a modified, Von Flue choke.
It looked like a Von Flue more than anything.
But it was like a Von Flue with the open on the other side of the neck, so I don't know if it was a face crush or a shoulder crush. I don't know what this choke was. I watched it back probably 4 or 5 times. More than 5 times, I know that. I watched it back enough to try to figure it out, and I couldn't exactly figure out
then they didn't,
what he submitted.
I actually started looking online to see if they announced what he won by, and it's just a choke.
And it looked, I couldn't tell what it was, but it was a really interesting choke, and it looked like it looked, not to mitigate the technique at all, it looked like a strong guy thing.
Yeah.
Something you do when you're much stronger than the guy. He locked his hands kind of behind, and then he just crushed down with the top of the shoulder and based up on Garmo's neck and face. It could have been a blood choke. You could see Garmo's face, and he looked amazingly uncomfortable. So it could have been a neck crank even from that flattened out position where it's he turns Garmo's lower shoulder up and then he turns the neck away, so you're twisting the head and neck opposite. I don't know what it was, but it was some sort of neck crank choke variation.
I'm going to Marcelo's on Thursday, so if he's teaching, I'll just ask him.
Ask the Niz.
I'll be like, dude, what the fuck was that?
And then next week on the show, we'll talk about
Miranda being super awkward with another.
Hey, Mateus, what did you finish? Because we couldn't figure it out on the Grapple and Rewind show that I'm part of. You should tell your friends. So that was great. It was a very fun main event. It's cool to see both those guys go at it. Deniz takes that via choke. The whole event is up on Flow right now. It's not portioned out into matches yet, but I hope it will be later this week. Moving on to our recap of Fight to Win 185, we had a really fun main event. We had Yuri Simões taking on Felipe Andrew, and these guys get Fight of the Night honors. Very deservedly so.
Yeah, they both, a lot of the match was standing, but they were both shooting. They were both trying for the takedown.
It wasn't that standing match where guys are both fencing for position.
Yeah, it wasn't your battle your normal battles where they just kind of butt heads.
Guys are kind of baiting and waiting. It was Felipe Andrew and Yuri
and
really
when
aggressively working.
And when their hips would hit the mat, they would just get back up. They would just bounce back up.
We also saw some good mat work here, too. You saw a couple really fun toe hold towards the end of the match. So I think there was some really fun.
At the end, they went into the 50-50 toe hold, and then it was toe hold heel hook.
And then they both swapped them.
And then they swapped them, at the end.
I did we saw much more Yuri Simões kind of shooting a high takedown and going to the body lock here.
Body lock
and
passes.
Then taking
takedowns.
Taking Felipe Andrew down off of the body lock or pushing him off the stage. But what I loved about this was it was a much more committed Yuri than we've seen in the past since we've seen him come back into grappling.
True.
It was what we saw when we saw the footage of him rolling with Tackett at Brazilian Fight Factory. It was that footage where it's Yuri Simões aggressively in the clinch, going to the body lock, taking guys down off the body lock.
Yuri takes him down. Finally, he just kind of head bullies him down.
Yeah.
He gets correct head positioning.
He gets head below the chin.
And he just kind of pushes him down. And I don't know if he was pushing him down or if Felipe was just I'm done with this shit. I'm sitting down now. It was kind of a combination of the two. that then went into that 50-50 position.
Yeah, the 50-50 was nice, too, because you saw Yuri initiating the footlock, and he initiated with a toe hold first.
Yeah.
Felipe Andrew countered with the heel hook, and I was looking, and it's kind of hard to see Felipe Andrew's hands, and I went, I don't think Yuri's really worried about that.
No, his face didn't look like he was worried about it either.
And Yuri starts to pull the toes in. Felipe Andrew switches off from the heel hook that he's going for to his own toe hold. Yuri switches to a heel hook. They both are kind of digging for it.
Yeah.
Yuri using that new school gripping style where he's low on the chest and the hands, where he's not the old school palm over palm. Yeah. He was flared with his
like a butterfly
flare.
Yeah.
With the arms going for it. He was a little loose on it, but he was definitely still working for it. Eventually switches to like an ankle lock off there and kind of goes belly up with it.
Yeah.
And Felipe Andrew is consistently here, kind of on the defensive, looking for his own leg locks, but also never causing.
But I think Yuri had the more. The stronger.
Yeah. He had the stronger one. Felipe Andrew had to defend it, and when Felipe Andrew would throw leg lock attempts on Yuri, Yuri wouldn't defend anything.
No.
He would just already be in a position where he's like, the knee wasn't ever free, but Felipe Andrew never had the bite that he needed. And again, with Felipe Andrew, we've seen him finish stuff without bites before. Like, he has very unorthodox finishing mechanic. Yeah. But Yuri, looked calm the entire time while throwing up his own heel hooks. I did love one thing, though. Felipe Andrew does a thing. He does like a snapping leg lock where he grabs something and then he'll base down and rip it when he really quickly. It's something I think we'll start to see more. We've been seeing more and more at the pro level. Like those footlocks you can't tap to, they just break your foot.
Yeah.
And I do like that we're starting to see that because it means that guys are holding back less on what they are able to do. And I think it will continue to push the competition level and the awareness of don't let people grab your feet up. If guys aren't like slowly applying pressure, they're like yanking into pressure now. It's super hard to finish those, but we've seen Felipe Andrew do it in the last year. A year. I've seen more and more people try to do that and boot through legs. Yeah. It's always been there. I do like the development of technique there, and it's just nice to see in this match. We're seeing, really, we see the DDS guys do it sometimes, really aggressive. Like Craig will do it. They'll try to yank through stuff really, really hard. We saw it in the Vinny Magalhaes match. Yeah. They'll try to boot down through something. And so, really fun match. Yuri Simões takes that via straight decision, unanimous. I definitely would give it to Yuri here. He looked dominant. I am super happy that we're seeing more from Yuri versus top level competition like Felipe Andrew. Yeah. I was really worried that we were going to, we just weren't going to see a return to form for Yuri. This makes me believe that we are going to, and he's coming back into grappling. He's knocked the rust off with that Nicky Rodriguez match. Yeah. He's had an MMA fight. He's come back, and we're going to see Yuri kind of continue to look great in Nogi.
Which is good.
Which is awesome. So other than that, I don't have a ton else. We have some upcoming events coming up for, I think, this next week. I have to figure out what day it is.
We have a fight to win 186.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Nogi Worlds coming up in the middle of October. Right now for fight to win, I don't have any names announced.
No, and I looked through earlier today, and I didn't see anything at all.
Okay.
It's in Seattle, but I didn't see where they announced anybody, and I didn't see where anybody was like, "Hey, I'm doing fight to win" either.
Right. So hopefully those guys will get out in front of the matchmaking again soon. But overall, we have a ton of stuff to digest, so we will cover fight to win next week and fight to win 186. I think that does it for the show. We're almost up in 2 hours at this point.
Wow.
So
we've been talking for a long time.
I mean, we had who's number one.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It was fun. You got any fun plans for the week?
I'm gonna go to Marcelo's on Thursday for the afternoon. Something to do.
Ask the Make sure you ask. I'm actually genuinely super curious.
I'll see if I have the. He's a very large man.
He's huge. I've interviewed him.
And and so we'll see. We'll see
he's huge. Please, what you do.
I'm gonna try.
You don't have to video it. Nothing. Yeah. I just need you to walk up to him and go, "Hey."
Hey, what did you get?
Hey,
what did you get?
I commentate on the Grapple In the Miranda podcast, and we couldn't figure out what your submission was yesterday. I and my co-host would like to know.
Yeah, I need to say that so it doesn't sound like I'm like, hey, you don't know what the hell you were doing.
Hey, you had a great performance last weekend. Yeah. What exactly did you finish with?
Yes. That would be the best way to handle that.
You know, congratulations. I really want to see you compete again.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Do that more often.
Yeah.
Do that every weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would like that. He would like a response like that. That's fine. Yeah.
So I got nothing. I'm just gonna take a nap this week. That's what my.
I have off all week, so I'm going to train.
I might take off a couple days this week. So I'm just after 2 weeks of dealing with stuff I dealt with last week.
You know, when you do a lot of jiu-jitsu, you have to do a lot of laundry. So
I had to rewash my gis 5 times this week because I kept It's been such a busy week. I kept forgetting they were in the laundry, and like 12 hours later, I looked like, oh, cool, the gis are still there. Let me rewash them.
I've left them outside before.
I did it 5 times. Man, I've never been that scatterbrained that I had to rewash them 5 times. Eventually, Rachel was like, "I'll just do them," and I was like, "Okay." So. Yeah, my week will just be like kind of rehabbing from who's number 1 and then getting ready to move into, a more normal week. I still have to book rooms for ADCC trials. I'm going to get all our equipment and gear together.
Yeah.
And I get ready to do that because that's in November and I'm already getting psyched for that. So
yeah, it'll be a fun time.
So I got nothing else. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Miranda. See you on the mat, whatever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.